If there's a pill, it's in cheese.
Hide it in so much peanut butter.
So much cheese,
and
so
then
much peanut
it's
butter.
so covered in peanut butter that you go like, I took the pill, it didn't affect me. And you go, that's okay. How'd you like the peanut butter? Fucking tasted great.
Peanut butter tasted great.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best.
Caissie, you want to know something really exciting about today's show?
What's so exciting about today's show?
Oh, we don't have a guest. Do you know what we have?
What do we have?
We have a motherfucking co-host.
He was a co-host.
That's right. That's right. Guys, Jake Johnson stopped by to talk to us about all of his endeavors. And he ended up co-hosting our show with us. It's an entire 3 hours. I don't know. It's a long episode, but it was so delightful and wonderful. And God, we really go through it all, man. We really do. And I think we should just let you listen to it.
I tried to work it so we all had one decent piece of equipment.
Okay.
I'm obsessed.
Jake Johnson.
It's so exciting, Jake.
Well, can we
I'm
tell you
excited.
why it's exciting?
Yes.
We've
He
been
doesn't even
doing
know.
this podcast for 1,000 years?
Mm-hmm.
3 years?
It feels like it.
3 years. Since the beginning of the pandemic.
The beginning.
You are our very, very first in-person guest.
Very first.
Oh, is that true?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I'm going to choke. Oh, no. because pandemic, it was
Agreed.
pandemic.
So we always only did it over Zoom, and we've done it together in person.
Yes.
But this, like, I got here an hour early to plug
Yeah.
everything in.
She was so
because
excited.
I was like,
Well, also the listeners of the podcast are well aware that like 90% of the time we start the podcast by talking about how we didn't have our stuff hooked up right. And, like,
Right.
we're a mess.
Yeah.
Because we do this all ourselves.
Yeah, pretty cool. I like the indie spirit of it all.
it's
we really
an
try to-
indie, a real
it
indie
really is.
And
spirit.
what was the decision to go in person from here on out? Just your
No, it's just you. This is
Oh,
it.
really?
Just
I think
you.
it's just for you.
Like
Oh.
your people were
Why
like,
didn't we do this on Zoom?
I don't know. We just said
It was
Zoom or in person.
Yeah, we said
whichever
what would you prefer?
prefers.
And she was like, maybe in person.
Thank you for coming.
But thank you for
Oh.
coming. Now he's like,
Do you
I
wanna
could
go
have
back?
been in
That's
my
so
home.
weird.
Do you want to go back and just
Yeah.
log on to your computer at home?
Let's all go in separate rooms.
Wait,
That is a really funny, because I am a for sure Zoom guy. I thought when I got here, I was like, oh, it's not cameras.
there's no cameras.
no
I was
cameras.
like, oh.
That's part of why I think we get people to do it.
Well, by the way, Zoom. So I started a podcast about 6
Yes.
months, but I'm new to the whole game.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we just did Zoom, and I was like, this is the greatest thing of all time. They ask for people, and this was different because I was recording 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
So this was not a commute.
Yeah.
But the ask is just turn on your fucking
Yeah.
computer.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
all of a sudden, I was really loving it. And then I had a friend come on and say, I won't do your show if it's Zoom. I want to just do it on camera. And I thought, like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. And he's a comedian. He's a stand-up.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, all we want is comfort and ease.
Right.
Right.
And he said, I don't score as well unless I'm in person.
Well,
I thought it was cool. And I went like, fucking neat. And then we went at Rachel Bilson's,
Mhm.
and she said, because Gareth and I had never been together,
Yeah.
and Olivia Allen, and Gareth and I were never together, but we'd been doing comedy for 20 years near each other.
Right.
And they go, why don't you guys do this together? There's an energy. And we both were like, kind of feels like an old show again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to I'm in like a closet, he's there, we all go hi.
Yeah.
Do you know? But it felt like,
Yeah.
oh, back in the day of like, you're up on stage doing a show,
Yes.
you're nervous.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, oh, that energy. And so now we do fully in person.
Yeah.
And
That's why I
and-
almost threw up before
Yeah,
you
and
got
it's
here.
but it's nervous. Yes, it's different.
And we've like we just talked to Ginger Spice all the
Yes.
way in the UK.
Because there's
Yeah.
no nerves with Zoom.
no,
You could put me on a Zoom with Obama, and I'm going, "What's up, Barry? How we living?" Because I'm in my living room, Barry.
Right.
If we're face to face,
Yeah.
you go like, "Oh shit!"
no,
right?
it becomes real.
It becomes
Things become real.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But that's the whole conversation, right? About
Right.
everything in life
Right.
right now is that nothing is and
Yeah.
feels real.
Right.
So people feel as though, I mean, they can be horrible. they can
Oh, you mean
say.
online?
I just mean
Yes.
all of it. Like you,
Right.
exactly what you're saying about like just even this process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just transfers to literally everything that we are doing and have been doing in the last decade plus now, which is that the screen really, and you're in your own comfort
Yes.
Yeah.
place and zone.
But people are, in my opinion, fundamentally the same when you one-on-one.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So with even during the pandemic, when we were up in the mountains and we were in very Trump country, and online it was, we are in such a divide, there's going to be a war on the streets and it's really scary and it's really
Mhm.
terrible and people are so vicious to each other. Well, when I would be out in the woods and I would talk to somebody and I would have a mask on and goggles and they would say like, you'll be fine. The conversation after 30 seconds of tension was the conversations it's always been. We
Right.
see things differently, but let's have a conversation to be
Right.
normal. And I was like, oh, there's a online reality that we're
Yeah.
all very passionate and fired up and people are vicious and have huge opinions. But I used to do a thing when people would be really critical of, like on social media.
Yeah.
Somebody DMs you like, if I fucking see you,
Yeah,
block,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I would
yeah.
write
Right.
personally and go like, are you good, Steve?
Yeah.
And what it always came back to is, honestly, I commented on your wall. I didn't think you were going to read it.
Right.
They'd be like,
Right.
I'm not a huge fan. And I'll be like, I don't care. Are you okay?
Right.
Right.
I don't care if you like my stuff. I don't know you.
Right.
Right.
This is some violent language
Yes.
from like a 25-year-old kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would always end like, I hear you, man. I'm actually not a piece of shit. And I'm like, yeah, you're now normal one-on-one.
Right.
And I was like, that has stayed the same. The internet just got dropped in the middle of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very true.
That's a really smart observation. I feel like I do a lot of asking people if they're okay.
Yes.
Well, I do too. And also, and I think Sarah Silverman also has done that really effectively.
Yeah, where
on,
she's like,
over the years on Twitter. And didn't she even do that on her, when she had that TV show? Didn't she like go find people?
like a
someone-
troll. A lot of people have done it where
Yeah.
they've sought out a troll and tried to like
Yeah.
figure out what was at the bottom of it. And usually like there's nothing.
No,
at the bottom.
but if you do it without cameras or recordings,
Mhm.
it's like on steroids. You get to the root of the thing really fast, and
Right.
they go like, "Yeah, my brother, this happened to them, and it really triggered me when you wrote that. It disappointed me because I liked that one thing you did,
Right.
and then you hurt my feelings."
Right.
Right.
And then you go, "I apologize for hurting your feelings. I was just giving my opinion,
Right.
yeah.
and
Right.
my opinion is no greater than yours."
Right.
Right.
But you just happen to follow me, man.
Right.
That's the only difference. You
Right.
just got pissed, and I hear you.
I made a joke one time about taking care of your parents as they're aging,
Mhm.
and the hardest job is to talk them out of buying ugly furniture. And someone got so
yes.
mad at me and
Yeah.
wasn't dropping
Was
it.
mad.
Like it was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very, very mad, and like, I've loved you for so long.
boom, yeah.
And this is disgraceful what you've said. And I was like, this is just like a joke between me and my mom that like I brought online because I'm trying to get her not to buy this ugly sofa.
Totally.
And then it turned out that like this person was just having a really, really hard time with
And chill out.
exactly,
Chill out.
exactly,
Chill out.
exactly, and chill
Wait,
out.
Jake,
Yeah.
how do you like, okay, it's called We're Here to Help.
Yep.
And you're doing it with Gareth
Reynolds.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And how do you like doing it?
I like it way more than I expected. So Gareth is a 20-year friend. We came up doing improv together. He's been doing podcasts for a while, and I like doing indie stuff. So I like doing indie movies. I like self-financing movies.
We're going to talk
We're
about
gonna
self-reliance
talk about-
because I have lots of thoughts and
But
feelings.
anything, but that is indie, but it's not like, that's not self-financed.
Right,
Like,
right,
I
right.
like doing backyard movies.
Uh-huh.
I like the gamemanship of holding a boom mic.
Sure.
And going like, ooh, and now we can go off and we can sell this thing.
Right.
And I like going to market. I like the sales. I like the whole game of
thing.
this. Yes.
You
If
love
it
it.
weren't this business, I'd be very happy selling cars. I would be really happy. Like my mother had junk shops when I was growing up. I loved being in a fucking junk
Well,
shop.
it's my favorite thing. I'm about to have a huge sale, a garage sale in New York, like a huge
Oh.
sale.
If I was in New York, I would be there.
You would
I go
love
to
it.
I go to estate sales.
I love estate sales
Me too.
so
That's my
much.
son.
Yeah, I
My
love
son is always. My son went to every day of Alex Trebek's estate sale.
Oh, I would go to his estate sale so fast. But also any random older person who
Yes.
passes away.
Yes.
And you're walking around and it's 1978.
I mean,
and the phones are there and
Yes.
they didn't redo the kitchen.
It's-
And you get to just go,
And you can-
holy fucking shit.
Their clothes.
Yes.
You can
You
go through the history
Yeah,
of
you also
the
open the
person's-
drawers, you look at all the forks, and you're
Yes.
just like, that world, but you're like, it's awesome. It's fucking awesome.
My son gets very attached and almost like he gets something for the person whose things
Yes.
they are, and he wants to take everything home to basically
Amazing.
become like a museum of that person's life.
He's sweeter than me. That's a very sweet trait. I don't have that, but I do while I'm there get
Yeah.
a sense of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the.
You get to walk around in their world.
That's why I was like,
Awesome.
and I know she had a lot of like backlash, and I love whatever. I love anyone who's doing whatever it is that they believe in. But that's why I always was like, the Marie Kondo thing is just not for me because,
What is the Marie Kondo thing?
you know, she was the woman that was like the organizing lady that was telling everybody to get rid of everything.
Oh,
And,
yeah,
well,
yeah, okay, yeah.
if something didn't bring
bring
joy
you spark
to you,
joy.
Yes.
But like
I
my
remember
feeling
this.
is like different things spark joy for me every second of the day. Like this doesn't spark joy in this moment, but
Yes.
tomorrow it might.
Also, the fake guru things it's enough.
It is. And
Everybody,
also,
everybody's
she
in it.
kind of went back on some
All of
things
it.
too. Like when she had
When she had children.
she was like, "Oh, this is
I
impossible."
need some stuff. Yes. It's
Yeah.
cool to just have like a couch and a candle.
Yeah,
But I
I
got to
mean-
entertain these kids.
Yeah. Listen, if you can be a minimalist, mad
Good for
respect to you.
Yeah. But I like saving stuff.
Yeah.
I like having boxes in an attic.
Yeah.
I like having you move a box, you realize you haven't seen it, you lift it up, there's old letters.
Well,
I have letters from old friends. I've got letters from old girlfriends.
Well, that's how I wrote my first book. Was that like people are like, do you have a great memory?
Mm,
You might.
I have great selective memory. There are certain things I miss whole
Yeah.
chunks of, but I have a photographic memory.
Me too.
You do?
Yeah.
You dyslexic?
You know, it's really fucking interesting.
Huh.
I was just on the phone with my 15-year-old discussing because she's self-diagnosed with everything, just
Good for
basically everything.
Good for her.
But she just texted me that she thinks we both have dyscalculia, which is like a dyslexia for math
Numbers.
and
Yeah,
numbers.
interesting.
Which I actually think she might be correct. And I feel like I may have some kind of dyslexia,
Yes.
but I'm unclear on it. But I definitely have ADHD.
Well, because in our era, the diagnosis of it was very different than it is now.
Sure.
So
sure.
I was diagnosed in 85 or 86 with dyslexic, and it just didn't feel right. And they put me in another classroom, and my mom said, like, I think I was in there with 35-year-old men, and I was like, the fuck, man? You're in a pair of overalls and you have a full beard. I'm 8. And my mom goes, you know what? They're fucking putting you in a corner. You're not going to do it. You're lazy and you're going to work hard on everyone. And you never say you're dyslexic again. And I buried it. And then with my kids,
yes.
as they were learning, I was like, oh my God, they're me.
Yes, 100%.
Right.
And then you start really quick going like, well, here's how I do it. Like for
Right.
memorizing, some people can look at a scene and after one read, they got it. And I'm like, I got to fucking study that thing I got to do at least 10 reads.
right.
And then I would say to them, like, if you're doing a word problem in this family, you have to read it at least 3 times and then you could start. And it'd be like, and you're like, oh, because, and then we got them all tested and everything they had when my wife was reading it was like, I feel like you finally make sense.
Yes. Well, that's what happened with my daughter when we got her neuropsych eval done,
Yeah.
my 15-year-old. But when we had it done when she was like, how old was she? Like 8?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like I was like, this is
I get it,
this
finally.
is me.
Yes.
This is who
I thought I was
am.
making really weird choices for a while.
Yes.
And then you're like, no, my brain is.
Yes, no, my brain just we work
Yes, you
differently.
work
We
differently.
work differently.
My husband and I say all the time that we literally speak different languages. Like we can
Interesting.
just be talking. And it's so frustrating for both of us because you can't think of another way to express it, to
Yes,
make it
that's
more
right.
clear.
To that other person, the way their brain works.
Exactly. Have you ever gotten to talk dyslexia with Henry Winkler?
Yes.
Oh,
I agree. And is the right term.
oh,
So Max,
He's such a dream.
he is. So Max, his son, is one of my best buddies.
yes.
And when my kids were born and they were first tested, my wife was really emotional and really sad. And I started taking it personally.
Right.
Because I'm like,
But also, it's like, you love me.
Yes.
I turned out pretty
That's-
fucking great.
that's how I feel. But I was also like, you're acting like they're fucking broken. Like,
right.
and also and then we all got to the other side, but I fundamentally think that like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
You might not be great at like an exam. And there's going to be times where you look really stupid.
Yes.
But
Right.
what they don't understand about dyslexia is you also have a greater understanding of the whole thing.
Right.
So I'm like, it's not bad to be like, it's okay in third grade to struggle,
Right.
but you're going to get the whole picture. And I was talking to Max about it. And then he said like, will you just call my dad? And I did. And then he sent me like a bunch of books.
Yes.
But I've used, Henry has been like a role, like when when Erin was pregnant,
Yeah.
I just gotten on TV
Right.
and I was really afraid of what that means. Like, so how could you be a kid and your dad's recognized?
Yeah.
I was
Right.
like, that's disgusting.
Right.
Right?
Well,
But you're
varying
like-
degrees, just, you know what I mean?
But
Like,
still, the idea is you're like, that's disgusting. You're a 5-year-old kid. You're the star.
Right.
But people
Yeah.
are recognizing your parent. I didn't like that idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want it. And then I said to Max, I was like, how was that for you growing up? And he's like, fine, shut up.
yeah.
And then he goes, you're making something that's not something. And then I talked to Henry, and Henry said, for your experience, it's weird. For theirs, that's
Right.
all they
That's
know.
all they know.
And so just talk to them about it. And I was like, that's simple, but so deep.
Can I tell you something really weird? So Birdie grew up like I was on Cougar Town
Yes.
the whole time of Birdie's, like from 0. She was 6 months old when I did the pilot. And then the show ended when she was 7.
Amazing.
And she came to set after preschool every day. I mean, when she was a baby, she was on set every single day with the nanny. After preschool, she would come, after gymnastics, whatever. It was like she knew it,
She was
and
part
she
of
had
it.
seen, and she had sat behind the monitor with the cans on and the thing, and da da
cute.
da 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 da. Cricket, who's 10, I was like done. She was born the last 2 seasons of that show, so she was a
Right.
baby, and she came, but just like no memory of it. And then I was doing Danny McBride's show, which was like not really appropriate to bring her to set, to be
Right.
honest, and it was like hot in South Carolina.
Sure.
And then we did our talk show, and she like kind of knew what that was, sort of like she like hung out there, but like it wasn't really the same kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
it's not the same.
We're sitting in the fucking movie theater for Mean Girls, the movie, the musical movie that I'm in, at the premiere. And as I'm watching it, I look over and I realize this is the first time she's experienced this ever. She's never
No
seen me
way.
in anything, really. Ever. She's never seen me in anything.
Right.
Other than playing myself, like on the talk show. I mean,
Right.
other than the late night talk show. She's never seen me play a character. She's never had the experience of going to a premiere with me
Wow.
as the person that's in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like it was,
What was her take?
she was not, she did, was, it was,
didn't like it.
no, she did not like
Good.
it. And I felt also like, oh my God, how did I miss this? Like,
That this wasn't for her?
know that
Or-
like we could have prepped better. Like
Right.
Mark and I
Oh,
could have done a little
right.
bit of like recon together about what
So she was
it
overwhelmed by the whole thing and didn't
Totally-
like seeing her mom like that.
No.
Huh.
And then she was just like, she really liked the movie, but the rest
Didn't like this. Yeah.
didn't like, and also like Birdie lives for a premiere. Like, just lives
It's
She
for
in
it.
likes
her
it.
blood.
She loves
Yeah.
it. She's the
Yeah.
one, you know,
Yeah, she's into it.
it's a whole thing. Like she had gotten her hair done like Priscilla Presley. She was like,
She gets the game.
she asked if she could take pictures on the red carpet with me. I was like, yeah.
The answer
of
is
course.
yes.
Yes, of course
Yeah.
you can.
We'll have the image for the family.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my gosh.
Cricket, total
Excellent.
opposite
Neat.
experience, was very much like, I don't like people, like I don't like this
Yeah.
at all. And I want to like get the fuck out of here as soon as possible.
You know, it's so funny. You're making me think of when my kids were little. My older son loved The Wizard of Oz. He
Yeah.
was obsessed. We watched it on DVD like every day. He knew how to put the DVD in and watch it. One day my town had like a summer movies for kids and it was The Wizard of Oz. And I brought him to the theater to see The Wizard of Oz. And I was like, this is going to blow his mind. And he was fucking livid.
He hated it.
He was so mad that all the other kids knew Wizard of Oz. He thought it was like just a thing for him.
Oh,
You know?
What's funny about that? So I just watched not one of the things that's funny about that, but I just watched I watched Sopranos
Yes.
and I hadn't seen it. So
I've never seen it.
Wow.
excellent, as everybody
As
says.
everyone says. Yeah.
But
uh-huh.
I realized I had said that it was one of my favorite shows and I'd never seen it, but it wasn't a joke. I thought I had seen it. I did it with the Larry Sanders Show too.
I mean, that's
People
amazing.
They'd
Oh
go
my
like,
God.
dude, Gary Shandling's the best. And I'd go, fucking Larry Sanders Show?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
are
They'd
you
go, the
kidding?
best. And I'd go like this. Everything started there. And I never saw it. Like I knew it, but in the Sopranos,
Yeah.
they would go favorite show ever. I'd be like, well, obviously Breaking Bad. And you go, you got to throw Sopranos up there. I'd never watched it. So I finally realized, it was during the pandemic. I'm like, I haven't fucking watched any of these shows. And I'm like,
Oh,
I
my
am
God.
an idiot. So long story short, I watched it. I loved it. The ending, no spoiler,
Yeah.
leaves things up to the viewer.
Yes.
So, but I was so late that when it ended, I was by myself, and then I missed the whole hoopla. I missed everyone being mad or giving thoughts. I wasn't
Thinking
part
their TVs broke.
Yeah, but I wasn't part of the conversation. And when I'm not part of I don't care.
Right.
Right.
I'm not following what you guys think of The Sopranos. I couldn't care less.
Right.
And then I realized like all the theories, and I thought, I don't care what anybody thinks. This is a personal experience. The way your son is,
Yes.
Sopranos is mine.
Yes.
I don't care what David Chase thinks the ending is. I watched
Right.
it alone.
Yeah.
Right.
It's mine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those
The
are
work.
my characters. And the ending, it's my interpretation. And that's it. I am a dictator of my viewing experience.
Yeah.
It is not a democracy.
Yeah.
I watch it. I get my opinion. I don't look at reviews. I don't need a friend to say it's really good. I'll go, it was dog shit. And they go,
Right.
everybody said it was great. Gives a rat's ass.
Yeah.
This is what the ending means. Not to me.
Right.
Right.
I'm very into that. Also, like I have a lot of friends who are singer-songwriters or I feel like that also is true of anyone that makes music. Like once you make it and it goes into the world,
Somebody
it's
else's.
not yours.
Yes.
It's
yeah.
someone else's now.
And I don't care what a singer thinks their lyrics are
Yes,
about.
that's correct.
And I don't care what a singer does. So like I dropped out of school when I was in high school, and there was a thing that I did. I ended up, I went through like a stealing phase.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not cool. It occurred.
Wait,
It's not
can
great.
I-
It's not cool.
Not
like
great.
all kinds of things or a specific thing?
Stealing.
Just
Just finding what I could get for no work.
okay.
Realizing that there are laws, but you could actually get around it.
Sure.
At about 14 and 15, that idea became very exciting.
Okay.
One of them I was involved. My uncle Eddie, who was a crook, got me involved doing a football pool in my high school, and I ended up ripping everybody off. That one I didn't do on purpose.
Okay.
That's wild.
An
So-
accidental successful.
The story of that is my uncle Eddie got in legal trouble in Florida, but we had to bring him back. He came and lived with us.
Okay.
One day he said to me while he was staying at our house, "You got a lot of friends?" And I go, I was 14. I was like, "I got enough friends." He goes, "Why don't we do something together? We'll do a football pool."
Oh my God.
And I go, "Cool. What's a football pool?" And he goes, "You go around, everybody ranks the games from lowest to highest, 8-1.
Right,
If you
right.
get them up, you get all the money. It's easy." And I go, "Fun. What do I have to do?" He goes, "I'll print it out. You go around and get $5 and winner takes 90% and you get a 10% cut. Tell everybody you're getting a cut so they know why you're doing it." So I walked around. I said, "Fine." The fucking thing spread like wildfire.
Oh my
People were
God.
walking up and they had printed off the print off people I didn't know. So their name, the card, $5 stapled. I don't remember how much I have. My memory's around $600. That could be a lie, but that's
Okay.
where for me, a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Pre-internet, so you got to watch the games.
Right.
Sunday night rolls around. I have all the scores written down. I go to my Uncle Eddie. I go in the basement. He used to make neon signs down there. And I go like, "Eddie, so here's the stuff. Who's the winner?" And he goes, "The winner of fucking what?" And I go, "The football pool." And he goes, "There's no fucking winner." I go, "Well, there's got to be. How do we do it? I need you to explain it to me." He goes, "There's no fucking winner." He goes, "You call." He goes, "Who's your best friend?" And I thought of a guy. And I went, "Him." And he goes, "You trust him?" And I thought about it. And I went like, "I love him, but I don't trust him."
Right.
And then
right.
he goes, "Who do you trust?" And I literally, you think in your friends who you like, then there's somebody you
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
the focus changes.
Yes.
And I go like, I don't hang out with him as much as I did in junior high, but I trust this guy. He goes, "You call him up and you say, 'You just won $200. Shut your fucking mouth.' And you take the rest." And I went like, "No." And he goes, "Or you go back and you tell everybody in your school you ripped him off for $5. And I went like, "No." So I called the guy and I said like, "Hey, you won. Shut the fuck up."
Oh my God.
And then I had a bunch of money. So I got scared the cops were going to come. So I went to a
gosh.
CD store And I bought the most expensive thing there, which was a double disc Bob Dylan greatest hits with like the weird books when they were doing.
Yes.
Just get rid of my money.
Oh my God.
And then I dropped out of school and I had nothing to do. So I would listen to those CDs on repeat. And the lyrics started meaning so much. When I got older, somebody would be like, but do you know what that song's about? And I've always been like, shut the fuck up, shut up. I know exactly what it's about for me.
Right.
And so that idea of a singer, so whatever you've already done, it's mine now. And that matters to me.
I've been using this new protein shake. I have been using it in the morning.
Tell us about it.
I just enjoy it. I think you got it too. I think you've tried it.
It's true. I have tried it.
It's Ritual, and it's plant-based essential protein shake.
Yes. Super easy to use. I put it in a smoothie because you know I love a smoothie.
Well, listen, I realized with my stomach issues over the winter that I was doing like honestly the worst thing ever, which is like just not eating and drinking coffee in the morning.
Right.
And that is not the best thing for me to do.
And I have been trying to just cut back on meat consumption because...
Well, same. Actually, same. You know, I said that. That was like one of my goals this year.
Yeah, because I just feel
not like whatever. Not one of those things.
Not a resolution or whatever, but just
an idea.
Environmentally, meat takes a lot of resources. So if there is a way to get protein otherwise, I like it too. It's really good tasting. Sometimes protein powders are a little dicey. They taste like what they are, but this one has no sugar. It's made of pea protein, which I love.
Pea protein is I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with it.
I'm obsessed with pea protein. And it's like regeneratively grown peas, environmentally responsible. There's no sugar. All the products are traceable so that you know that they're safe. There's also no sugar alcohols or stevia. I know some people are not fans of those ingredients.
You know who's not a fan of it?
You.
I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan.
I don't like it when protein powders have fake sugar in it. It really upsets me.
Right.
I can taste it.
There's no need for it. It also has a complete amino acid profile. So there's 8 grams of EAAs and 4 grams of BCAAs. So all the amino acids I could even imagine.
Yeah. Vegan, soy-free, gluten-free, formulated, no GMOs, rigorously tested for heavy metals, free from 250 plus banned substances. And it is the first plant-based protein to earn the Informed Sport Certified. I don't know what that is, but sounds good. I don't. Plus, it is a female-founded B Corp.
Which
yes, they're holding themselves accountable not just to their company's financial health, but also the health of people and the planet.
Yeah.
Guys, once you try Essential Protein, you're not going to want to go a day without it. Get 40% off your first month for a limited time at ritual.com/busy. This offer is only available through January 31st. Start Ritual or add Essential Protein to your subscription today. That is ritual.com/busy for 40% off. Foria. You know I have to do it. Foria, Foria, Foria. Guys, it's Valentine's Day.
Ah,
I mean it.
It's coming.
It's coming. And so will you be. Oh my God, you guys. I can't. Here's what is happening. You know, Foria, we love it. You know that we want you to get it. We know that we want you to get it in more ways than one. Foria just dropped a brand new formula, massage oil. Come on. Perfect opportunity for you to tell your sig of get a rubbin'. You know what I mean? And we already love the Awaken Arousal oil and the sex oil.
And you don't need a sig of for any of that.
Honestly, I don't even know if you need a sig of for the massage oil. Rub on your legs and your arm, whatever. Anyway, guys, this is the perfect gift for Valentine's Day or for an anniversary or for a Thursday. It is just the perfect gift. It's more creative. It's much more thoughtful than flowers or anything. Foria is incredible. You got to spice things up by slowing things down. And that's what Foria is here to help you do. The intimacy massage oil can help create connection, support embodiment, enhance relaxation, and get you turned the fuck on.
And by the way, all of these things are healthy. Having orgasms is good for your health.
Good for your health, guys.
Getting a massage is
Good for your health.
So this is healthy.
This is healthy stuff.
You need it for your health.
You need it. I need it. We all need it. And we all deserve it. And we should all have it. And you're gonna get it. The Awaken Arousal Oil and the Sex Oil is the 1-2 combo. But now with this massage oil, the Intimacy Massage Oil.
A hat trick.
Come on. Come on, guys. What are we talking about? You have our permission to try this. We've told you before. If you haven't yet, now's the moment. Now is the time. We fully endorse you to go ahead, treat yourself or your partner or your best friend or your best friend's partner. I don't know. Just give it for Valentine's Day. Give it to yourself for Valentine's Day. Experience your juiciest and deepest sensual experience with a bottle of Foria or like 5 bottles of Foria. Foria is offering a special deal for our listeners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting foriawellness.com/best, or you can use code BEST at the checkout. That's FORIA wellness.com/best for 20% off your first order. I deeply recommend trying the new massage oil combined with the Awaken Arousal Oil and the Sex Oil. Guys, you're going to thank us. Well, I watched Self-Reliance over the weekend and I loved it so much.
Oh, thanks.
I loved it.
We already had a big talk
We already
about
talked
what
about
it
it.
meant to us.
Yes, we already did.
thanks.
And we already discussed how we don't want to talk too much about it on the podcast just because I feel like you really have to watch it to experience it. But I also, one of my favorite movies when I was younger was The Game.
Yes, totally. For sure.
Which is like, obviously,
huge influence.
love that movie.
Bottle Rocket.
Bottle
You'll
Rocket.
feel Bottle Rocket being copied in here. Have you ever seen the movie Jacob's Ladder?
Oh my God, Jacob's Ladder.
love
So for
Jacob's
me,
Ladder.
the pitch was less The Game, even though it's connected.
Yeah.
And it was, I wanted to see if I could make a movie that you took what's fun about Jacob's Ladder and squeeze it into Bottle Rocket.
Oh, wow.
So Dignan is one of my favorite protagonists.
Okay.
In Bottle Rocket.
Right.
He's such a fucking goober, but his dreams are so stupid.
Yes.
He wants to be in a gang of thieves with like Applejack and Mr. Skinny Jeans.
Right.
And then in the end, when he's in jail, he's so happy. Because he made it.
Yeah.
He's a real crook in a gang. And look at him.
Yeah.
And in the end, the other guys are like, oh, this is such a wild arc. But when you see him go off in that slow motion shot,
Yeah.
Dignan won.
Right.
But
He
to all
won.
of us, he lost.
Right.
So I loved that.
Right.
And then Jacob's Ladder is what the fuck
Which
is
I
happening?
like barely remember. Is that the one where they try to, where they die?
Tim
No, wait.
Robbins, yes. So that's
Tim
a guy.
Robbins.
He's in Vietnam.
Right.
He comes home, but while he's home, shit starts happening.
And it gets weird.
And it gets, demons start coming up, eyes change. And then
you're not sure if it's real
Yes.
or
if he's crazy.
And then he meets other people who were in his platoon and they're like, you understand like the chemicals they sprayed on us? And he's like, huh? And the guy's like, they're fucking coming, man.
Right.
And it's all building. You
Right.
don't know what's real. You don't know if it was the government. You don't know if he's going crazy.
Right.
And then in the end, he's in a helicopter still in Vietnam and you realize like, oh, he's dying.
Oh my God.
And
right.
you're like, it
Okay,
ends
that's
and you're
right,
like,
that's right.
whoa,
What?
mother. So to me, this pitch was always, what if those got squeezed together and it was a little lighter and more fun?
Yeah, it's more fun.
And
It's
easy.
definitely fun. It's
It's
definitely fun.
It's fun.
But easy to like, you just watch it. It's 90 minutes. It's a ride.
Yeah, it's a fucking ride. I also had, and I'm going to tell, I'm not going to waste your time because you didn't even know you were coming in person. But like you had a choice. But I had literally a Self-Reliance situation yesterday happen to me that was so fucking insane.
Tell me.
You want to hear
Yeah,
it?
I do.
I'll just tell the
Yeah,
story
go
here.
ahead.
I posted a little bit on my Instagram story. Okay. So I had a fucking day yesterday and I was feeling being back in LA is really hard for me. I'm going to choke up. Being in LA is really hard for me for a myriad of reasons, but it's just hard.
Yeah.
And I like drove to this house that I'm staying at. And fucking paparazzi like followed me, and I saw them, and I know who I know what they are, whatever. And I was like not in the mood, and I'm like, I'm going to get out of the car and walk into this house that I'm staying in, and I'm carrying like a bag from Larchmont Wine and Cheese that has like 2 bottles of rosé in it, and I just am like a sad like lady. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm
Respect.
not this, and I'm sad. I'm like a fucking sad lady, and I don't want to be this fucking lady. And they had they flipped their car around, so they were like facing the other direction, so that I think they could get a better shot of me walking. And I waited, and like 2 cars passed me, and I was like, fuck this. And I just took off. And like, I was like, I'm just going to, I know these hills.
Interesting.
And I took off, and they didn't get me because
paparazzi.
No,
Cool.
because I like went a different way and like snuck around. Right. So then I'm driving, and I'm like aimless. And a friend of mine calls and is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have some errands I'm running. That's a total lie. I lied to my friend, but I was just in a fucking mood.
Yeah.
And I drove past our old house. And I got emo about it. And then I got a text immediately from my now ex-husband, Mark, with the most adorable picture of our 10-year-old, like post-bath. And I
lost it.
At a stoplight was like, you knew, thank you. I needed to the reminder of like what home is, And so then I drove past our old Busy Tonight offices. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? The sun's almost setting. This is actually my favorite thing. I love driving down Beverly when the sun is setting. Guys, I don't know. It's just a thing that I've done a lot in my life. And always, and a lot of times when I was like feeling like I needed something, right? I drove past the Busy Tonight offices. I was thinking about us and work and like stuff that we're working on and whatever.
It's
and
always a feeling.
And then I was thinking about the guy that like broke my heart post my husband. We've been separated for a while. Jake, I'm filling you in.
I'm interested.
Okay.
I like it. I'm getting pieces. Okay.
So I thought about the guy who like broke my heart. And then there was a car that was like just kind of annoying me. And I was like, fuck it. I'm not going to go to Beverly. I'm just going to turn on Melrose. So I turn on Melrose for the sunset. It's not my favorite street to drive on, but it's fine. And I'm driving, and then I pull up to the stoplight at Melrose and Fairfax. And I'm like, I wasn't happy I was listening to my sad shuffle that I have made, like my sad playlist.
You're pushing the tears out now.
I was at this
You're
point.
into it.
At this point, Jake, I'm like leaning in. I'm like, this is the moment
let's get
we're
to
in.
the bottom of it.
We're here. We're here. Let's do it. And but in that moment, I was like, fuck this sad ass playlist that I have created for myself. I'm gonna press my psychic shuffle on my iTunes, which is my favorite game to play, and I'm gonna see what the vibe is. And I press it. And the song that was like my song with this ex-boyfriend, with the guy that like fucking broke my heart after my divorce, broke my heart.
Did the guy after your ex break your heart?
He broke my heart. It's like the song that like was our fucking song. And it's a weird song.
What's
and
the song?
I kind of don't want to
never mind.
say
Respect,
just
respect.
because
Respect.
Because it's the hokey pokey.
Exactly.
I was like, can you
weird.
imagine?
Yeah, it's not
So,
great.
yeah,
It's not great.
yeah.
And then I was just like, I'm gonna fucking lean into this whole thing. And I actually was gonna take a picture because the lighting was really good and I looked pretty. And I'm at the stoplight, and that's a long ass stoplight, that Fairfax and Melrose one, just FYI for people listening. And I like started taking an Instagram story, and I'm listening to the song, and I'm like, this is a bummer. And then I look in my rearview mirror, and he has just pulled up behind me.
The ex.
And wait. And Jake, I need to explain to you. And I don't know, have I said this on the podcast that he broke up with me over FaceTime and then refused to see me in person?
No.
I don't know. That might be an exclusive.
That might be an exclusive.
And how long were you guys kind of for a while?
A while.
Okay. And it was pretty serious.
It was serious. And then refused to see me in person because like he really needed to be alone now, and he didn't want to like have anything jeopardy.
Yeah.
It was
What a killer ending.
It was wild.
He breaks up on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And did you feel it coming, or was it out of the blue?
Well, Jake, I mean,
I'm curious.
hindsight is everything.
So now you can see all the things, but in the time.
In the time, I was very confused. And in fact, wasn't even really clear to me that he had broken up with me on FaceTime for a month.
Right.
Because
why? What was
because
the
I
wording?
thought it was like a break of
You thought it was like open-ended.
I thought we were taking a break because he
Because
needed to focus on like a couple of items
because his
in
tone
his life.
was
And we were
obviously, I love you. Obviously, this is great. I'm going through this hard period right now.
the tone was me saying like, hey, I feel like this is something is weird here. And
Yes.
like in that you're asking for space without asking for space. But if you need to ask for space, we're adults.
Oh, I can give you some space.
ask for space. And he was like, I need
Space.
to finish a script and to turn in. And I was like, I mean, okay, I guess I can give you space for that. And then
I hope it's a spec pilot.
Jesus Christ. and then when I talked to him the next week, he was like, I told you like I needed space. And I was like, nope, I said it feels like you need space. You said you needed to finish a script. I thought we were, and he was like, well, I have all this stuff happening this month and it's the holidays and da 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 da. So why don't we're just gonna like
End it.
we're going to take a beat or something. I don't even remember the exact wording. And then he literally like wouldn't
See you
talk.
again.
Just never heard.
No, wouldn't. He like ghosted me after. It was fucking insane.
Yeah, wild ending.
It's a wild ending. But needless to say, I haven't seen him.
Because he's LA.
Yes. Or spoken to him I talked.
Is he part of the reason New York happened?
No.
No.
He was like after New York.
Oh, he was after New York.
Mark and I split up in New York. But it's reasonable to
Yeah.
ask.
Because my reason for being in LA is a breakup. So there is when that's that bad and you go, we haven't seen each other. Now we're back and we see each other.
Right.
Of like, I can't be on the subway and bump into you.
Right.
That
Right.
cannot happen.
Right.
I would rather go elsewhere.
Right.
But that was not this.
Was not this.
Okay.
Okay. But here's where self-reliance
Yes.
happens. So I'm like, what the dick?
Right.
He's of all
With
all
this
the
song,
times with this fucking song, which also I just want to sidebar. Obviously, what happened was a perfect confluence of circumstances in which his phone was in his car. His car pulled up right behind me. Our phones talk to each other. You know this, right?
No.
Everybody knows this.
What does that mean?
It's like, here's a good example.
Yeah.
Here's when I realized my son had a health emergency and he went to the emergency room and it was very scary. And I was soothing myself by looking online while I was waiting to hear from the doctor. And all of my ads were for scrubs. And I was like, why are all my ads for scrubs?
So phones are turning us all into twins.
Yeah. Well, somebody explained to me, it's because everybody that worked there looks on their phones for scrubs and then their phones
it's location based.
Yes, we're telling your phone.
But
But maybe this lady
also-
wants scrubs too.
But also, and like, I don't even know, because I said this last night to Mark on the phone about this. And he was like, I didn't even know that's a thing, but it feels right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe I made this up based on
Yes.
stuff like that.
Right.
Because here's what occurred to me later after the fact, which is that like his car pulls up behind me at the perfect moment when I press shuffle. Our phones, when they've been together,
Played this song.
have played this song to get like we
That's
have
right.
both. This is the thing that our phones know together.
You'll like
that
this
we-
together.
Yes.
Yes.
That is the only thing that I can think of that happened, I
Yeah.
guess. So I was like, what the fuck? And then I was the first car, the light turns green. So I like kind of speed up and pull over. Like I pull
Oh,
over.
so you guys make eye contact.
No.
You
He's
just see-
behind me.
So you just see
I
him.
see him. In my head, I was like, he's followed me here. This is what in my
I mean,
listen.
There's a lot of emotions cooking. Things happen in between the ears.
Sure. I mean, he didn't follow, but anyway. So I like pull up and pull over. I assume he must have seen me. Like I don't,
Yeah.
but I'm also not thinking I'm in like a rental car. We haven't talked or seen each other. We haven't seen each other in over a year now. We haven't spoken he texted me when my friend died, like that, and he saw it online. Like we haven't had any contact. He just keeps going, oblivious, just keeps driving, oblivious. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, the fuck is happening? And then I was like, did I just make that up? I was like, I just fucking made that up. I'm
Yeah.
literally Jake Johnson in
Yeah.
Self-Reliance.
The game started messing with
and
you.
the game started messing with me, and I was like, fuck that. And I cut back into traffic. I'm like, I need to see. Now I just need to know if I'm fucking crazy and losing my shit.
Or if this really happened.
And then I was like, were those people really paparazzi? What am I doing? What is happening to my brain right now? I'm like losing it.
Yeah.
I have a question about Self-Reliance, which you wrote, directed, and starred in.
Yeah.
So when you had the idea for this movie, and you just said you don't give a shit what people think movies are about.
Right.
But to me, it was about it really was about something very simple. I really enjoyed it. But all that I came away from was just thinking of this one really simple idea, which is not that you want to hear it.
I do want to hear it. No, I'm curious. I'm always curious what people think, but I think your answer is right, is what I mean by that. But here's what I mean by that.
Right.
Not that I don't like to hear it. I love hearing it. But when people then go, was I right? I'm like, of course
you can't answer
were.
that.
You took it away.
Yes.
You win.
So to me, it's about what a difference love can make in someone's life being seen. Like love and being seen it's like the thing that I wake up every day and I'm like, this is what I can do for people.
Yeah, interesting.
I can give them love.
And see them and connect to them.
See them and say
and I believe you. I feel you.
I hear what
if
you're
that's
saying.
That's what you're going through. I'm with you.
Yeah. You know what it so reminded me of? When I was a kid, I was nearly driven insane by Snuffleupagus on Sesame Street because no one ever believed Big Bird that he existed. And
amazing.
It also clearly drove other kids insane because at some point Sesame Street changed Snuffleupagus and all the adults acknowledged and believed that he was real. So that was what I got from the movie, is just that even if someone's having a journey that you can't buy into, you can still change the trajectory of their life by seeing them.
Yes. Or at least, I agree. So I can relate to that too and connecting to them. I've had family members who've had mental health stuff. I've had family members who've gone really hard into drugs.
Yeah.
And when everybody does the fuck them, I'm out, and we have to go hard, when I'm left with a family member I love and I know they're lying,
right?
I still think it's okay to go I hear you.
Right.
So that is why you were gone.
Yeah.
You know, my cousin we drove out to New York together when I first moved there. Every bathroom we went to, she went up there and shot up, was in there for an hour. And everyone, when she would get out and go that was such the line was crazy. As opposed to me going, you're fucking doing dope. You said you wouldn't. I would go, another big line. You don't say.
Right.
Let's get in the car. I'm not the cops.
It's not going to change anything.
And I don't believe my hard love is going to change it. So I would be the James in this movie and just go well, you got some bad luck with lines, my friend. Let's get back in the car, listen to music. How about I drive?
Yes.
Because you seem tired.
Right.
Your eyes are going down and you just say it's fatigue. And I'm going to say, well, fuck, you might need to get some sleep.
Yeah.
I'll drive the next shift until we got to go to the bathroom and have a long line.
And I feel like I've also had experience with that in my family. And I feel like the more I've done that, the more honest some people have become with me.
And then you could have talks. Now, I've never been able to change the person.
Right.
But you can at least connect as they're going down.
We were talking about drug addiction and how difficult it is. And I was just saying that everyone I've ever known, I think if willpower could just do it or hard work could just do it, they would do it in a second.
Agreed.
You know,
if they wanted to.
I mean, it's really hard. But so anyway, my question about making the movie is that were you more concerned with the story and the coolness and the funness of the story, or were you
the message and all that?
Yeah.
So it was different phases.
Okay.
So, quickly, the thing that it was for me in terms of the message, which was important to me, was I first came up with this in 2017 and it was just for comedy.
Yeah.
Japanese reality shows really push the limits.
Yeah.
Right.
And they get crazy.
Yes.
And it's really funny. And there was one where they took a guy who won and they put him in an apartment with bugged cameras everywhere. And they stripped off all his clothes. And the only way he could eat or get dressed is if he won them from radio shows or coupons.
Oh my God.
So he would win rice, right? And then it would be delivered and he'd be like, yeah. And then he would realize, I don't have pots and pans.
Right.
So I have to cook it.
My
The
God.
more he suffered, the funnier it was.
Oh my God.
The culture loved it. It was a huge hit.
Sure.
And I thought this was, I think in the late 90s, I was like, oh, I know that's coming here.
Yeah.
When we get that kind of shit, we are going to eat it up. And then
Yeah.
like Survivor started.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm watching people. It's the Billie Eilish line.
Yes.
I like to watch it to watch people suffer. You like to watch people starve.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, that's a fun, comedic engine.
Yeah.
If it's me doing it
Right.
and I'm going through it, I can keep it light.
Right.
And then I wrote it, I was developing it as like a 3-season TV arc.
Okay.
Pitched it to Netflix. They said no in 2017. I got my feelings hurt. Didn't want to pitch it anymore.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do like the whole 2 months of pitching.
Right.
Then when the pandemic hit and everybody's truth became subjective and everybody was right
Mhm.
and everybody was an expert
Right.
and everybody hated everybody else's thought. And I unfortunately read 1984 again at that time, just for the
Right.
fun of it. And truth and everything was getting really crazy. And I had young daughters. And I thought, fuck, if you start fucking with people's instincts,
Yeah.
you are now in such a danger zone. So my only real lesson that I ever give as a dad is, if you feel it, it's right.
Right.
And if everybody tells you it's wrong, it might be right.
Right.
So if you walk into a party and you go, I don't know, then your friends go, it's the best. Then go, well, I am leaving.
Right.
Love y'all. Would love you with me, but I'm getting my ass out of here.
Yeah. There's no harm.
There's just, and my mom raised us that way. She's got some crazy stories
I've
about that.
heard this
story
crazy
is
story.
nuts.
But there's another one that she reminded me of
Okay.
that really scared me. My mom has some like weird witchcraft, whatever.
Well,
it
We
is.
can just say very quickly that the story that Busy and I are talking about
Yes.
is that Jake recently told the story about his mom not sending him to school
Yeah.
on a particular day. And there was a
Yes.
shooting.
There was a shooting at the school.
At the school. Yes.
Now, the one thing I feel bad about that is by no means is the idea that other parents, blah, blah, blah.
No,
There's
it's
an-
just
No, but
So-
I
it's
will
just
say
how it
as
shook
a,
out.
Yes.
but also I do want to say as a parent who has had really strong, well, first of all, I think that part of what our culture does is beats the fucking intuition out of us.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And if you're a person who's able to like remain open to your intuition, that's a blessing. And
Great.
like if we all get to be adults that have a strong
Listen to it.
intuition,
Right.
you have to listen to it.
Right.
But also, my own experience as a mother is that like a lot of times people will say like, will be like, that's that's dumb.
Right.
You are made to believe those instincts are wrong and overly emotional because they're not always right.
Right.
But even when you're wrong, sometimes you're right.
right.
And,
And,
so
and
stick with it.
sometimes you'll never know.
And sometimes you'll never know. But there's a story.
At the
go ahead.
same time that you told that story,
Yeah.
I also told this story on the podcast. My son was in the garage with all his estate sale finds and he was organizing, like it's a
Yeah, yeah,
pile.
yeah.
He has a hoard
Good
in there.
find.
We were going out for the night. He lives at home with us. And before we backed out of the driveway, I rolled down the window and said, please don't get crushed.
Yeah, interesting.
Because I just felt it. When we came home, Jake, the entire 1,500-pound garage door had fallen,
Holy shit.
had like the
Yes.
thing snapped.
So whatever that is, I find as fascinating in this like experience on this
Yes.
rock as anything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that idea that Tommy, no matter what, is right.
Yeah.
So when everyone's laughing at him, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because his instinct is telling him, I have to believe what I see with my eyes.
Right,
And
right.
that is, I'm going to get killed unless I trust me.
Right.
My mom, when I was going through the stealing phase that
Mhm,
was
mhm.
hinted at earlier, which is over, I'm 45 years old, I'm an adult. It's wrong. It's stupid. There's no happy ending. I got involved with a guy who got in trouble. We were in the suburbs. There weren't like really bad guys. It was
Yeah.
stupid guys. It was idiots. And one of these guys got busted selling weed. And so the police said, we are looking to bust others and we will let you off. So he needed to get other people set up.
Right.
I did not know this until after. All I knew is one day he came up to me and said, I've been stealing credit cards. And I went like, cool. And he said, this one's yours. Here's what you do. Go to like a Blockbuster, like in another mall near where they have like a video game stop. Rent a bunch of games under this card, then you go or like buy them used and then sell them here and blah, blah, blah. There's a big, whatever his hustle was. I don't remember. I haven't thought of the story since it happened. My mom just retold me. So I didn't give it any thought. My buddy and I got on a bus, went to some Blockbuster in another neighborhood from our house. I'm walking down an aisle with 15 games. Like the whole thing was so stupid. We would have got caught when we went to the register.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
My other buddy had about 15 games, $1,000 worth of stuff. We think we're going to give it here, give the credit card, go to the store next door, sell them for cash. We keep the cash.
Yeah.
Walking down the aisle, I turn, my mom's in there. And she goes, "What are you doing in here?" And she said, I turned pale as a ghost, said, "What are you doing in here?" She goes, "What are you doing with those games?" I was like, "Just looking at them." She goes, "We don't have an account here. What are you doing here?" And she said she knew something was up.
Yeah.
And I go, "Nothing, Mom, nothing." And she goes like, "Get out of here, Jake." And I was like, "We're going." Put the games back. We left, whatever. When all this came out and he got busted, I did admit to her what I was doing. Her story is she was literally driving down the street and went, "Why don't you go to that Blockbuster at Old Orchard?" And she thought, okay.
Right.
She didn't rent things. She wasn't a watcher. She goes, "I was just walking around. And when I saw you, I thought, the fuck is he doing here?"
Right.
Had that happened where I was in my life, where like I was making bad decisions.
Right.
I was trying to sell weed from that guy.
Right.
I was starting to steal. I was breaking into cars.
Right.
I was seeing like, oh, there is a whole, I was about to drop out of school.
Right.
If I had a police record there,
I mean, that's it.
it could have
changed
just
your whole
started
life.
and
Yeah.
without it, I didn't get busted. He got busted. Some other things happened. And I was like, whoa, whatever that is with my mom, I don't know. But I
Wow.
do know when the pandemic hit and I thought, I need to work. I love to work. What am I going to write?
Yeah.
What's the move here?
Yeah.
I thought, well, that message I care about. That the message is, whatever that instinct is, trust it.
I love that. It's such a great movie.
Oh, ZocDoc, what do you got? You're just a ZocDoc. That's so insane. But honestly, I kind of like it.
I like that song because I think of ZocDoc as a really good friend who gives me good advice.
ZocDoc is a really good friend that gives you good advice. ZocDoc has been our friend for so long. And I feel like we've all had moments where we're like, okay, I have this weird thing happening and it's like a weird rash and I don't know where to go. And like, you don't need to Google. You just don't need to treat
No.
yourself. You don't need someone that isn't a medical professional to diagnose or treat you. What you need is access to ZocDoc, where you can find and book tens of thousands of top tier doctors, all with verified patient reviews. You get to figure out who is the right doctor for you to see. You get to book it. Some of them can see you as easily and quickly as that day, which is fantastic.
Right. And then you can get your thing treated instead of, like I would do sometimes, let my imagination run awry. And one of the huge advantages of ZocDoc is that you can read all of these user reviews to give you a better idea of if this doctor is right for you.
And yes, and not all doctors are right for you. I'm just going to tell you that.
right.
That's just the truth. I'm just being honest.
And you can just make an appointment right there on your phone where you already are.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much less stressful than calling around.
Oh my God, so much less stressful. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes just making calls is stressful. And I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
It's too much. And I feel like, you're at a vulnerable moment. If you've hurt yourself or you're not feeling well and you don't know what to do, and ZocDoc just gives you a really, really clear plan of action.
Again, guys, ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare highly rated in-network doctors near you and instantly book appointments with them online.
All of my doctors are ZocDoc doctors.
Honestly, me too. Especially since moving to New York, it's the first place I go. The typical wait time to see a doctor booked through ZocDoc is just 24 to 72 hours. That's it. And as I have before, you can score same-day appointments. So guys, go to ZocDoc.com/doingherbest and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/doing-her-best. ZocDoc.com/doing-her-best. Oh my God. Do you sleep? You sleep well. You sleep okay now.
Yeah. I have my Hatch Restore all set up. It's really super helpful because my husband keeps odd hours because of his job. Sometimes he has to wake up at 3 a.m. and sometimes he gets to sleep in. And that was really disruptive to my sleep until I got Hatch Restore on my side of the bed. And now I'm like on my own program.
Can I tell you something?
What?
I've been using it now to help the 10-year-old.
Oh, yes. I have a lot of friends that say that their kids are really digging it.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but if you're a parent, and I think you probably are on the same page as me, which is that like every parent I know who has children that are like younger, who went through the last several years of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like sleep schedules for our kids have literally been, I don't know. They've never gotten back on track.
They're erratic.
They just have never gotten back on track.
Yeah.
And I do think that the Hatch Restore, which just FYI, it's a device. It's like this cute little thing that sits on your bedside table. It helps you build a consistent bedtime and morning routine so that you can prioritize, getting rest, sleeping better, because it uses like sounds to help put you to sleep.
Right.
So like we've been using that to really help with winding Cricket down, like off devices and like winding down with sounds and sweet sounds. And then in the morning, it's like a gentle sunrise alarm. And when you're on the East Coast and so dark in the morning,
especially dark in the winter.
It's so hard to get your kids up because it's just like, they're like, no, my little body wants to just stay asleep. So this like really gentle sunrise alarm, the light comes on. I really do feel like it makes a difference.
I'm so glad it's working well for her. It doesn't surprise me.
I mean, they believe these people, these Hatch people believe that great sleep can be learned with Hatch.
And they're constantly releasing new content on Hatch Plus. So if there's a sleep program that you love and you want to use that every single night, amazing. But you can also explore and find new things to help lull yourself to sleep.
Here's what I know. Great sleep can be learned with Hatch. 83% of customers report improved sleep. They have a 60-night money-back guarantee. You can try it for yourself risk-free. And right now, Hatch is offering our listeners $20 off your purchase of the Hatch Restore and free shipping at hatch.co/busy. That's hatch.co/busy to get $20 off and free shipping. Hatch.co/busy.
I also loved Minx. I'm really sorry about Minx. It was such a great show. I was rooting for it. Your character, if you haven't seen Minx, you should watch the seasons that are out there. Your character is actually like so feminist, which is so funny because the show has a real feminist message, but you're one of the most feminist characters. You wind up being one of the, even though I think at first blush, you're like, oh, this guy's kind of a dirtbag.
Well, but I think the reason he's feminist is because he's a capitalist.
Yeah.
So it was really important. I don't want to be in stuff that's messagey and that alienates and says like, this is the message of the show. Here's what we're teaching you. This is entertainment.
Yeah.
But if you're a true capitalist, you can't be anti-women. You can't be racist.
I mean,
this is what we say all the time.
But it's so broken.
Insane. It's so fucking broken.
If you're an American
crazy.
and you love America, which I do, then I'm a capitalist.
Yes.
Right.
And so if I'm a capitalist and I'm here, we could say, well, it should be more like, it could be whatever. But this is what it is.
Yeah.
If you are a capitalist, how could you say, I would rather have money from that or this? Best idea wins.
Right.
If that best idea comes from whomever or whatever.
It's something I always sound like I'm on so many shrooms trying to describe how people, so we're talking about like a patriarchal society and supposedly the goal of that in America is capitalist,
Right.
is to make money
Yes.
because power equals making the most money.
Yes.
But whenever we prove that something that's not patriarchal also makes money, people that run the patriarchy are like, oh, okay, you know what? In this case, I will give up that money because I want to stay.
Will they though?
Yes. Like
Interesting.
that's why I think like we still say like, oh, Bridesmaids was a fluke, you know?
Well, also, guys, I'm so sorry. Fucking abortion.
Right.
Abortion is like a capitalist issue.
Right.
Like it is
Also-
just because it's an economic issue, because it's
Right.
proven that like places where abortion, I mean, now it's just fucking
yeah.
fully outlawed in these places, but the states in which it's less easily accessible or where it, whatever, the economy of those states suffers. Like economy, there's like a direct line to the right to bodily autonomy and the economy. So they don't give a fuck because it is anyone can see that. There's also a clear line between like the education of women and girls and equality worldwide with emissions being lower, literally.
Well, but religion confuses capitalism.
For sure.
So I'm like the problem with all those things for me, because I wasn't raised religious. So if religion is in there, it does confuse it. But so for Doug, I just wanted to play Doug as a capitalist.
Yeah.
And so I never wanted to play Doug in a scene where I would go like, you know what? I'm doing this magazine because it's time for women to have a chance.
Right. Not at all.
That kind of shit
No.
drives me nuts
Yeah.
and I hate it.
Yeah.
He wants to do this magazine because there's a lot of money in big dicks and there's a lot of women buying, and he couldn't care less who sold it to him.
Right.
So if you're money,
Right.
then you're with me. If
Yeah.
you're not money, then you're not with me. And that felt really clean. And in terms of capitalism and money, fuck these streamers. Because,
Right.
but I mean it. Like
Right.
and going back to what do you like about doing the podcast?
Yeah.
Well, what I really like about doing this is I realized with Minx, I am so tired of a streamer deciding if I can work or not. And I'm so tired.
Honey, don't we fucking know
But
it?
also, like, it's so boring to me when you go,
Agreed.
and then also having like their PR team go, this is how we're going to market. And then go, so now post about it and market it to your base. And I go, I don't think my people would like this campaign
Let me
like
tell you,
this.
let me tell you,
Right.
let me
And
tell
you go
you
like,
the-
but I'm not being difficult.
No.
I also don't think you should decide. Ellen, the showrunner, is so talented. The cast was in, the crew was ready. Then you're like, oh, we need to live under your contracts if we're going to make it again. And you go, well, why don't we get a different line producer, see how much it costs, and then see if we can release this in another way. See how many people would actually watch it and pay for what. See if fucking a alcohol company wants to sponsor it. And let's go to minx.com.
You're
Listen, and you're talking-
describing. You're describing
preaching to the
everything
choir,
we've
baby.
ever
Yes.
tried to do. We could talk for hours about how we're like, what is just another way that we can do this?
But to me, so the indie movies, that's what my buddy Joe Swanberg had taught me. He did Drinking Buddies with me.
Yeah.
Or I did Drinking Buddies with him.
yeah.
And we had a blast. And afterwards he goes, he was like, great movie. We're all at the party, taking photos, wearing scarves at whatever festival we were at. Like, this is the dream, right? And then he's going, Everett, like, dude, we should work together. I'm like, wow, cool. I should work with them. Cool. And then he goes, you know how much we made this movie for? And I was like, I was just learning to care about the numbers. And he goes, I was like, no. And he goes, around 8. And we just sold it for 2. And then whatever goes on after that, there'll be more and more profit. And he goes, you know what you're going to get from this? What they decide when they've recouped enough to start giving you your back end. And I realized projects I'd had back end before, I'm like, I didn't see shit on that.
No.
Right.
And then you go, oh, so we're making these movies, going to festivals, which are just business expos.
100%.
But we dress up like they're cool.
Right.
And we dress up like, wow, I made it because I'm in a fucking black and white photo with the cast and we're all wearing winter hats and scarves. But we are selling vacuums that Hoover owns and Hoover sells, but we're out there selling them. When I went to Sundance, the year that broke my heart was I really thought it was an art festival, and I thought it validated the 17-year-old me who thought like that would be cool.
Yes.
Right.
So walking down Park City, it was snowing. I think I was a little stoned, and I was like, man, this, from dropping out, listening to Dylan to here, I was like, I'm hearing the jazz.
You hear it.
Right.
It's
I'm
happening.
hearing the jazz.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll win an Academy Award one day.
Yeah, yeah,
And I would like
sure.
to thank my mom's, or whatever bullshit. I see a crowd of people around somebody. I thought I'm going to meet Robert Redford. And because my movie's here, he's going to say like, Jake, you're excellent in paper art. Right? Would you like to go back to this and talk movies? And I would have gone, yeah, I guess so. Because I know how to play it cool.
Cool.
I get closer, surrounded, a group of people are surrounding somebody. I see who it is. It's fucking Hulk Hogan's wife. She was doing a reality show at the time that I wasn't even aware of. And I thought, what the fuck? 10 minutes later, I'm doing press for something. I'm putting lip gloss on and getting a photo of it. And I was like, huh? So this more and more was happening of like, what is this sales thing that I don't own?
Right.
Right.
And then Joe said, the next one, if we got the guts, we write checks and we get paid as financiers. And we did, and it worked. And so it sparked this thing in my head. If I'm going to go sell vacuums, I'm Hoover.
Right.
Or this team is Hoover.
Right.
And I've been looking for how to do that as much as I can, bigger and bigger. The podcast, we own it. It's our IP.
Yeah, same.
Everything we do out there, we're at a place right now where we're just doing an ad split where they're bringing ads in. It's a 90-10 split. Great.
That's amazing.
And you go, they host us, they put these on. It's a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go like, oh, a project, if I'm going to do a little indie movie, or what I might just do is talk directly to my audience,
Right.
do a poll and go, if I can get it to you guys for the first week,
Yeah.
is it $3 to rent, $5 or $7 to own? What's better?
Right.
Then you make the budget around the size of your audience
Right.
because it's
Right.
the market.
right.
Right.
And that to me is like,
And
oh.
you say yes or no to it.
And you say yes or no to it. And then we either make it, we
Right.
pay for it, and we put it out so that I'm not in a situation where somebody goes, we have decided when we look at our tax numbers that we will cancel this, and that our job is now as creatives being like, I guess I'll sit around and wait until you decide to hire me again.
One thing
I'm
that
like,
we
fucking
always say
pass.
is like, we're so over other people deciding what success looks
Yes.
like for us.
Yeah.
And so that is
And-
part of what like really has
Also-
been driving us.
Also, for me, like, I'm behind the scenes mostly. So it's heartbreaking for me to have someone come to you, say they want to do business with you
Yes.
because they love what you do. And then immediately, as soon as you come to an agreement, spend every moment trying to change
100%.
what it is about you
That's
that they
right.
claim
But
to
they're
love.
also the boss.
They're also the boss. So you can't say
And then
no.
when you express disappointment or change, you're difficult.
Right. Right.
And you go, I don't think I'm difficult. I
Right.
think I care about this because I'm trying to have a direct relationship with the audience
Right.
and make something that I love that they love. I just don't know who you are. It's almost like a step parent that's not
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I know my mom. You're just fucking Greg. Right? And you're making a lot of rules, but mom and I have been doing this dance for a while. And you're right. It is a little weird that we drink Diet Coke for breakfast and mom lets me drink. Chill out with your push-ups and your rules. None of
Yeah.
us are going to the military in this group.
Right.
Right.
And now every once in a while you get a streamer or a partner and it works great.
Right.
And when that happens, you're like, great, you're a great step parent.
Yeah.
You know your role and now you're in.
Yeah. A great partner.
But the Minx for me left a really gross taste in my mouth of just like, oh, fuck off. And also, I would like to do another season of Doug Renetti. I was like, I think Ophelia who plays Joyce is such a fucking great lead. I want to see what she did season 2. Excellent.
The whole show was
Excellent.
so great. Lennon Parm,
Oh,
I
so
love
good.
Len.
Elizabeth
You guys-
Perkins.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love
Oscar,
Elizabeth
Jess
Burke.
Lowe.
everybody was
Killers.
like so top notch.
Yeah.
It was so great, and I'm just sorry that.
Listen,
you know,
I'm gonna watch it now, guys. Everybody knows I don't watch anything because
Neither.
I'm just I mean,
you'll
honestly,
love it. You'll love
The
it.
fact that I watch Self-Reliance, I have to tell you,
It's a big,
because, like,
it's a big deal.
it is actually
Yeah, I know.
like a big fucking deal.
Jake, you came here in person
Yes.
and to talk to us, and we appreciate it so much. There is one thing that I think if I didn't ask you about, people would think it was weird and get mad at me,
Please.
and I would be mad at myself.
What is it? What could
Yeah.
it be? Prince.
Doing a scene with Prince
Oh,
on
Prince,
New
yeah,
Girl.
of course.
No.
That pause, actually, I got nervous.
No,
I'm
I
like,
knew. I mean, I
I'm
knew what it
about
was.
to get
No, she's
something I did really weird. I don't remember.
Casey's,
Yeah.
the biggest Prince
Oh,
fan.
yeah, so is
she's a super fan.
Yeah.
She's a super fan.
We used to drive from Chicago to Minneapolis for road trips just to listen to his music. We would listen to his tunes and my buddy Saturn just because
my
it like
God.
sounded different here, man.
Oh my God, I love that so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
I'm the kind of person that for example, I've worked on a number of shows where Miss Patti LaBelle has been a guest. every time she comes to a show, she'll try to tell me a personal Prince story because she knows that like I live for it. So
I got some Prince stories.
I know you have talked about it a million times, but
everything's fragmented. You could tell the same story. 9 different people will hear it at different times.
Yeah, so true.
It's true.
By the way, I just remembered I was on New Girl. Just
I had that too earlier when we were talking.
I just fucking remember.
You were in the
I was
restaurant scene?
Oh,
yes.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's
is
right. I'm
so
in the
funny.
Well,
TV
when you
show.
were talking about...
I would have filled you in. I knew that.
But it was really, when you were talking about being pregnant at the same time as my wife, Erin, I was like, what was that? And then I go, no, I've only known Busy from that first party at Clay and Elizabeth's house where we played shuffleboard.
We played shuffleboard.
And then while you were talking, I think when you were explaining you were back in LA, I did have a thought when I was listening. I'm like, I know her more than that. And it's not just from seeing you and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we hung out. We were in that scene doing bits all day in that restaurant. Then in terms of the memory, I had the photographic memory of the spot.
Yeah, me
We
too.
were in that lobby area. We were doing bits all day.
100%.
And I was like, oh, I do know. Yes, we're friends. I like this.
Busy, he remembers you as much as Prince.
Yes.
Right. But I don't remember anything else about doing that show.
I don't remember the scenes.
Me
I
neither.
remember we were doing bits in a lobby.
Yeah.
It was like a nice restaurant that was open.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of extras moving through the space. And it was probably Lamorne. Whereas you, me, and him or something. I don't remember the third.
No.
Was it
I think it was Max. And it was like, you guys came in hot, I don't know, whatever. It was funny.
It was fun. Yes.
It was fun and
Agreed.
funny and
Yes.
great. And we had a great time.
Yes, totally.
And weirdly, I don't think we talked about Clay and Elizabeth's
We might not have.
at that
Yes.
when we worked together,
Yes.
which is so weird.
Yeah. So really quick, we met. It was before I was working at all.
Yes, 100%.
And
I have a picture of myself from that day, weirdly.
amazing.
I'm wearing my mom's shorts and I was wearing like athletic socks.
Fun.
And I was wearing my dad's shirt from the 70s that says like Aspen's
totally.
ski patrol.
Yeah.
And it was like a ringer shirt from the
ringer shirt.
70s.
And I remember
my hair was dark. I had like dark red hair.
And I was thrown because I had seen Freaks and Geeks. I knew you. I loved the show. And it was the beginning of me being like, oh, there are celebrities in this town who are just at events. Right? Like when that moment turns, you're like, I know Clay. I know Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I was just going to their backyard house where I'm like, Clay's going to have his megaphone, do his bits. I always play the bad guy whenever he would have if there's ever a game, you need a bad guy.
Yeah.
So
sure.
you need somebody that everybody wants to beat and then everybody gets, and I was like, I'll fill that role. I know what I was going to do there. And then I remember being like, what's she doing here? And we were either on the same team or against each other, but we were connected.
Yes, we were definitely playing the game together.
Yes. And then I remember being like, whoa, that was a very surprising Saturday and cool.
Yeah, it was
and
great.
cool.
It was really fun.
And-
well, I remember it was just really fun, and
Yes.
I brought deviled eggs.
Yes.
And I fucking love deviled
But
eggs.
then we did not see each other for a long time.
a million years.
Yes.
And that was it.
That was it. Prince.
Yeah.
So we get word Prince is coming on the show. The first thing was he wanted to come on season 3. It was when he was going to do it. We were going to do the Super Bowl. He said they asked if he'll do the post Super Bowl, but they agreed to it way early.
Okay.
Prince said, I'm willing to do it, but I want to be part of Nick and Jess being together. So he's like, Zoe was Jess, I was Nick. We were together. I think season 2, we might not have been together. We were like building towards it.
Right.
But he said, if I do it, I want to be part of them coming together because I like that storyline.
Okay.
So they were like, the writers, I think Liz was like, oh, we have to now go around this
Sure.
because Prince is coming. He was throwing a huge party. I believe he said the Kardashians weren't allowed to be invited to the fake party for some weird, it was like, they wouldn't
He
be
had
in.
history with Kim.
Oh, he did.
He kicked her off stage one time because she wasn't game to dance.
Oh, so that's why he was mad. But I remember one of them was going to be in the show. And, you know, when you hear about guest stars, you're always excited. You're like,
Yeah,
fun.
sure.
Cool. Great. And then we were like, she's now out there rewriting it. Prince said, and we were like, whoa, I didn't even know that shit was possible. Then the night he gets there, it's 2 stories. There was like all the first floor and then his dressing room. He just took the people's rooms upstairs. There's an open balcony.
Okay.
So we're all hanging out. Everyone's like, Prince is here, Prince is upstairs, Prince is upstairs. And they're like, ready to shoot. An AD goes up there, talks to one of his assistants. They knock on the door. The door's open. He and his whole team are all wearing purple and black, like his style.
Yeah.
They walk out single file, one at a time, like they're in like a music video. So everybody's watching. It was an amazing, where you're like, whoa. And it's an out of body experience seeing him, but then you're like, you're already putting on a show? He walks down, he's in a little circle. He's making like side kind of flirty eyes with everybody, right? Where he's just kind of going like this around, and you're like, whoa. And then he's talking to Zoe. And Zoe was our, the leader of our group. So the rest of us back off, but we could hear it. But she's like, thank you so much for being here. He's like, my pleasure. And she's like, it's amazing. We're all such big fans. And then he looks over and says to Zoe, I'd like to meet Nick now.
No.
And Zoe goes like, of course, Jake, come over here. And I walk over. He referred to me exclusively as Nick.
Yes.
He was very warm about it.
Yeah.
And then, we talk. He's funny, but you could tell he's kind of geeking out. He's having fun. We do the scene. Great actor. We're on the bench. The three of us are on a little bench. They call cut. They're going to relight. It's going to take 40 minutes. Zoe and I do the start getting up. He doesn't move. So in TV, when you have a guest, they're your guest.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If the guest is sitting, fucking sit down.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, but nobody knows what to say. And I'm a talker.
Yeah.
So just start talking.
Mhm.
And I said thanks for doing this, blah, blah, blah. And he said he loves TV. And he said in his tour bus at the time, it was either the News or New Girl. And he said, it's really fun for me to be here. I like to see how things are made. So I wanted to do this to be part of it because I like this.
Mm.
And I said, have you done it before? And he said that he had gone to a taping of Cheers and Roseanne back in the day.
God.
And I said, really? And he goes, I didn't want to be in those. I just wanted to see those. So that was really neat.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So like little things like
Amazing.
that, you're just like, oh, and then the truth is about 40 minutes. After about 10 minutes, he wasn't like this weird magic creature. He was just, you realize like, oh, you're just a guy from Minnesota.
Yeah.
We literally talked about the Vikings. He's a big sports
Big
fan.
sports fan.
I asked him about the pancake story because Chappelle's show changed my life.
Right.
And I was like, and he's like, that's not how it happened. And I go, and then he goes, but I make a great omelet. And so I was like, oh, so it might have happened, but it was omelets. And then he drops. So you're like, he knew how to play Prince.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And then he kind of left and we were all like, and then he writes emails and he would put punctuation. There's no punctuation. And his
Right.
caps are really wild.
Right.
So like the would be TH lowercase E cap,
Right.
which
Amazing.
the best, right?
That's
So
like-
there was a
it's
little bit of
magic.
stuff where you're just like, he left and we were all like,
Oh
great,
my
worth it.
God.
Big win.
It was a big win for me too
Yeah.
that day,
He was great.
that episode. It's thank you. Thank you for indulging me. I love to collect a Prince story from whoever can give
well,
one
you're
to
rocking
me.
the Prince attire today.
Oh, I'm tatted
Oh,
up,
yeah,
which
yeah.
he would not approve of. But
Yes.
and I try to go to Paisley Park every chance I get.
yeah, you
and
love him.
I love him, but also I love hearing about like those really human things that he
Yeah.
loved TV. And I've been in a room with him too. He did Letterman when I
Oh,
worked
yeah,
at
yeah.
Letterman.
Cool.
And I made sure that I was in the room, that it was
Yes.
important for me to be
How long
in the
did you
room.
work on Letterman?
For the first 3 years at CBS.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was
my
such a scary show to be around.
that was my first job out
Oh.
of college. I worked in Dave's office.
Oh my Lord.
And so I was like, I better go with you to this cold open that you're shooting with Prince. Like, and you might need something. And I was like, but I couldn't let on that I loved him
Yeah.
because he would have like embarrassed me or forbade me to
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
you know. But I love to get a little Prince story. And one time at Paisley Park, I want to say there were New Girl DVDs. They show you in the little kitchen, like where he would sit and watch TV, and it's off the atrium.
Oh, no way.
And we always would try to look at what the DVDs were because it's like as he left it, you know?
Yes.
And so I think New Girl was there. And then
Cool.
and then a movie that my friend Paul Soder made, Watching the Detectives with Cillian Murphy.
Cool.
And so I was like, as soon as I get my phone back, I have to text Paul that Prince had his
Amazing.
DVD. But anyway, thank you for indulging me
Yes.
with that story because
It's fun.
it's everything. It's everything to me. It's my religion.
That's cool. We do need to get back to the end of the story, though.
Oh shit, do we?
So you pull over.
Or do we leave it? Do we know? Did I make it up or did it happen?
Fair enough.
That's a really good question. Do you ever, can I ask you this? Do you guys ever feel like when somebody puts you through like a big psychological trip or you put yourself through it, do you ever feel like sometimes, like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. When I was a kid, I hadn't seen my dad for so long. And I knew that he was in town. I knew that he lived and worked in the town that I lived in, but I hadn't seen him for a long time. And one time I was in Woolworths with my friends from middle school and I saw my dad walking down the street and I got excited and I ran outside and I said, "Dad!" And this man turned around and he was like, "Sweetheart, I'm not your dad." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You look a lot like my dad." And I thought for a second that you were my dad. And he was like, "I wish I was your dad." And I was like, that was the nicest thing he could have said to me. But I clearly wanted to see my dad.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, do you think that that's
I hear what you're saying. Sweet. So you wanted to see your dad so bad that you did see him.
Exactly.
You wanted to connect to your ex to end this so badly that did you imagine seeing him?
Right. No, it was him. We ended up talking.
And how'd the talk go?
I like pulled up next to him at the next stoplight, but there was a car. I couldn't get like directly next to him. So then that car turned right. And then I pulled up next to him and honked and was like, mouthed, "What the fuck?" And he looked totally startled. Like he thought he had not seen me and also thought maybe he had just hit someone.
Yeah.
And someone was angry with him in the car and he looked very startled. And then I pulled over and he pulled over. And then, we stood on the street on Melrose, where the paparazzi like literally like should be.
Right.
But they were not.
they were at?
Did you have the end of Annie Hall moment? So every great breakup needs your end of Annie Hall, where you're, whatever happened, as you're talking and laughing, it goes like, we're not together now, but I'm sure glad I met him. Like, we sure had a great run. Mm-hmm. That, like, in summation, I'm glad these chapters exist in my book, but they're not still being written.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it was definitely like, well, I guess I can like sort of sum it up with that at a certain point, I was like, well, okay, a couple of things. Like I was like, he was like, "Wait, so what were you doing driving?" And I was like, "I wanted to drive to watch the sunset, but it's not even fucking good."
Right.
I was facing the west. And then he was like, "Well," and he pointed behind me and I was like, "I was driving the wrong direction because behind me, the sky had turned pink and purple."
Whoa.
To the east, not to the west.
Right.
And I was like, of course, I was driving the wrong fucking direction. And I was like, I actually should go now. And he was like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm hugging you in my head." And I said, "I guess that makes the most sense."
So he's the wrong direction.
Yeah, we got to turn around.
To be continued.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's perfect. Couldn't have written it better.
Yeah.
He didn't write it better. He's a very medium talent. I don't know. She never said his name.
No, but yeah, I felt like it was
that's a great...
It was sort of like really...
That's a great scene in a romantic comedy, especially if you and your ex end up back together.
Everyone's rooting for it, Jake.
Yeah,
no, except for us. I mean, Mark and I are like, this is the thing. Like, we're like very, we're so good with each other. And I like always think it's very sweet that people are like, you get back together with Mark. Yeah. And we're like, we get it.
Right.
Yeah. And also we're good.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay that this is the relationship.
But it is nice to have that clear moment where you go, so I had a really intense girlfriend in New York, really serious, really bad breakup, ran across the country to get away, blah, blah, blah. really kind of not mad at each other, just intense, just a open wound from both ends. Never knew. It was really bad. I then met my now wife, and she was meeting another, and everything kind of went like, whoa. And I was doing 21 Jump Street, and I was in New Orleans in a hotel by myself. And it was right at the time when New Girl was going to start, and there was a lot going on, and I was freaking out. It was the beginning of the childhood dream. I'm going to start making money. I can all of a sudden, those money issues in my family, I am the one who could, it's like, blah, 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 blah. But I was alone in a hotel room way too much. And alcohol's a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I started going down like a road where I'm like, I'm losing my bottom and I know it. And some random night at like 10 p.m. and we had never talked about our breakup. I think she randomly texted like, so weird, hope it's not appropriate, thinking of you. And I just called and we talked from like 10 until like 5 in the morning, where we kind of rehashed it all. But it was rehashing as friends together, not we're coming together.
Right.
But as in like something kind of fucked up both of us.
Right.
Yeah.
We were so close.
Right.
I can't believe we didn't get to do our breakup together.
Right.
Nobody else cares about all this stuff but us.
Right.
So then we were able to do that as buds.
Yeah.
And it was like now we're still friends.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I remember like hanging up and being like, oh, that was wildly helpful. And that feels like that moment with the stuff like.
It really did feel like end of the movie.
And you need that
thing. Yeah.
Where he goes like, look that way. And you go like, thanks. I was looking this way with you, but I have to go here.
Right.
And you're like, great.
I gotta go.
Thank you. Yes.
I gotta go.
Which is nice.
I know. It was really a trip. It was like a real fucking wild self-reliance moment.
I like it.
I liked it too. Oh, Birdie got to come home this last weekend and spend some time with the kitties.
Aww.
And they were so cute. And we love our kitties, even though I know Gina gets a lot of attention, guys. Let's be real. And our cats are a little bit like, we're chill. And
They're
we're just going to be
shy.
here. We're going to be here and we're going to be chill. And I love them for that. And our cats are a little bit older now. And we've like been looking for a little healthier food for them. And I really love feeding them Smalls. Smalls cat food is, first of all, the cutest name for cat food. Smalls. It's so cute. It makes me so happy.
It's very cute.
Smalls. Because they're Smalls. They're little Smalls cats. But Smalls cat food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free ingredients that you would just find in your refrigerator. And it's delivered right to your door. And it's not like frozen. It's shelf stable or whatever they say. Is that what they say?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
So it's not like messy or whatever. Smalls was actually started back in 2017 by a couple of guys who were home cooking cat food in small batches for their friends.
I love those
They were
guys.
making small batches for their friends and
Now
their
it's-
kitty friends.
Now it's a couple years later and they've served millions of meals to cats all over the world.
to cats all over the damn world. And the team at Smalls is so confident that your kitty is going to love their product. You can try it risk-free. That means they're going to refund you if your cat doesn't want that food, because we all know some cats can be finicky. But my cats love the food.
I think most cats love it because after making the switch to Smalls, 90% of cat owners reported overall health improvements, which is a huge deal. And so I think most cats love it.
Well, listen to me. It is 2024. Are you still feeding your cats kibble? No. Head to smalls.com/best and use promo code BEST at the checkout for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. It's the best offer that you're going to find, but you have to use our code BEST for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code BEST for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. Element, giving you the element you need to live your life right. I don't know. It's electrolytes, guys. That's the element. That's It's the element you need. You know, we've talked about it. We love electrolytes. Electrolytes are for everyone, even if you're not an athlete. But if you drink a lot of wine, you definitely are an athlete of a kind.
An endurance athlete.
You do need to replenish those electrolytes.
Yeah, I don't even drink a lot of wine. I have to be honest. I don't drink a lot at all. But I really...
Right, that's a brag. I mean, it's fine.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying a fact about myself. But another fact about myself is that I really can't live without element. I have one every day.
Turns out, me too.
I have a cup of coffee in the morning. And then once coffee's done, I make myself an element first thing.
Well, here's the thing. It is a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams magnesium. There's no junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. It's formulated to help everyone, anyone, everyone with their electrolyte needs. It's perfectly suited for people if you're following like no carbs, like Caissie is, keto or paleo diet. Electrolytes are super important. They facilitate hundreds of functions in your body. And I'm telling you, you got to try it.
Give it a shot.
Give it a shot. What have you got to lose? I'm going to tell you nothing. You have nothing to lose, but you can try, like you may as well try it. May as well. I remember when I gave Renee that electrolyte drink at work when she was like having this crazy headache. And I was like, maybe you just need electrolytes. And I popped my little element into a water bottle, shook it up and gave it to her. And like literally 20 minutes later, she's like, I feel fine. I'm like, yeah.
You were dehydrated.
You were dehydrated and you needed electrolytes. I cannot even explain to you how many people I feel like this speaks to. Right now, Element is offering you guys, our listeners, a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. It's a great way so you can try all 8 flavors, or you can share your Element with a friend who might need it. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/best. This deal only available through our link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/best. Also, Element offers a no questions asked refund. You can just try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, just give it away to someone and they will give you your money back. No questions asked. That's how confident they are. That's how confident we are. Enjoy.
We always ask our guests to share a pivot story, but we have kidnapped you all day.
And we also have had like 4,000 of them.
You've said so many pivots.
Yeah.
Like your mom changed your life by catching you at Blockbuster, and the pivot into the indie thing from the corporate thing, which obviously we have the most respect for. You've just been a perfect guest.
Well, thanks, guys. It was really fun talking.
It was super fun. And also
really
on
interesting.
another
Sorry.
note, Across the Spider-Verse is like that was like
Phil and Chris are,
Beyond the Spider-Verse
Yeah.
too.
those guys are.
Yeah, Beyond is my favorite movie of all time now, I
I
think.
love it. Yeah.
Do
Those
kids
guys,
recognize your voice all the time?
ever in line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are your kids, did your kids like that you're in that? Or not like my
don't
kids? Or they're like
care.
my kids?
They're not huge fans of the movie.
Oh.
Not in a bad way.
My 10-year-old like literally,
Loves it.
just not
she wants
part
to
of
be,
their-
she's like
She's into it.
she's an artist
Yeah.
and she like just fucking, it blew her mind.
My daughters, and it's a really funny thing, but they don't care about entertainment unless it's females and it's female protagonists.
Great.
But it's interesting because I remember growing up, there was no options.
They have a
Right.
choice.
They have so many choices now. So there is kind of the thing of like, we don't have this thing. And as a father of daughters, I'm like, they've got a lot of great options.
There's great
Yeah.
options.
They don't, if it's like, I tried to like get them to watch my movies.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, this is Stand By Me. And I'm like, and literally within 3 minutes, they go, it's all these boys.
Yeah, no.
And I went like, right, no. And I'm like, all the movies from my childhood, I'm like, I don't know what my sister watched because it's all Goonies, all of them. The girl is just the one you kiss.
Right.
In these movies now, I'm like, oh, they've grown up. So any of the things I'm in.
Do you know what my favorite movie was in 4th grade?
Huh.
Steel Magnolias.
Right.
I'm not kidding.
I was
'Cause you
going to
needed
say
it.
My
West Side
favorite
Story.
fucking
Yeah.
beaches.
Right.
Yeah.
Steel Magnolias.
Yeah.
Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
Yes. Well, because
these are
girls
like-
want to see girls, and a lot of times, and not everybody, but also boys want to see boys.
for
Right.
sure.
And you're like, oh, right. So we used to just do all of them
Right.
were for boys. But so in terms of that for Spider-Verse or anything I do, they're just not that exciting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at them about it. But in terms of that process, I've never been around talent the way Phil and Chris are.
I know.
And it's staggering.
It's
Their work ethic,
incredible.
how they keep pushing, how unafraid they are to like keep going. I was like, so for my movie, for example, I sold it at South by Southwest, but I didn't feel like I was done. But Hulu had already bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And the profit was all set up. And
Yeah.
Phil is somebody I thought of because I'm like, Phil doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It would literally be like, we're coming out, and then he'll go, I'll get a call where he's like, hey, Jake, would you say this line into your phone?
Yeah.
And I'm like, the movie is in theaters. And he's like, there's a new, it's not yet. The print's going out. I just need, and I would go like, Phil, you can't do this, but it keeps improving it. So I literally went back and said, I know we've sold it and everybody's happy. I need more money. I need to add a couple of scenes. I need to recut a lot of the third act. I need to make changes. And it was met with no. And I thought of him a lot, and I thought of that process.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought like, I have to. I'm not done. And they finally said yes. They wrote a big check. We went back into production.
Oh
We
my God.
added scenes. I recut the entire third act.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But those guys, like Phil was in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
I'm like, there's
they're
certain people in this
incredible.
town that you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're just like Bob Odenkirk's one of those guys
Yes.
where you're like,
Love
when you're
Bob.
near him, you're like, oh, you're just a North Star.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need you to give me, I just need to see how you're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and then just younger sibling you and
Yes.
just follow you around a little bit and copy.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's fucking great.
You know, but those guys are that.
Well, I mean, clearly also you're very beloved because there's so many great people in the movie. So I think people clearly wanted to come out and work with you.
Oh, I thought for yourself, I was thinking Spider-Verse. I was like, I don't know how to spin that one. I'll take it. It's like, I think it's the franchise in them.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Yeah, yeah,
Spider-Verse
yeah.
is because your voice is great.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
like,
Yeah,
it's
so-
a very lovable
But
voice.
yeah, no.
But your movie, so many amazing people were in it.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable cast.
So people just wanted to like come and watch you work and work with you too. Is that a
yeah.
weird feeling?
I don't know. I felt like Anna, we sent the script to, and we expected her to pass. And when she said yes, we were very fired up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy and I had a great talk, like a Zoom chat.
Yeah.
And at that time, role could have been anybody.
Sure.
And then
of course.
when Andy was in, I was like, if you'll do it. But him doing it totally changed it in a way that I
100%.
really liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always imagined like a scariest dramatic actor,
Right.
like a William Dafoe or something where you're
Right.
like,
Right.
what the fuck? And then I was talking to Allie Bell, their producer, and she's like, because they were producing it, she was developing it.
Right.
She was like, maybe Andy. And I thought like, if Andy will do it,
Yeah.
100%. And I was so glad he did when I watch it with an audience. Because as soon as you see him,
You trust.
and you trust, the
You
whole
trust.
audience laughs.
Yeah.
And I go like, oh, people love him. I also didn't realize how much people love Eduardo Franco. So the ninja with the really long hair.
Yes,
I didn't
yes.
watch Stranger Things.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I
he
missed him in
is-
that.
He is incredible.
He's also
like, when he came on screen,
Oh.
I was like, oh,
So,
I love him. And you trust him.
so every audience member, and I missed it. He just auditioned. I met him. So I thought I discovered this unbelievable. I miss when you say you don't watch everything. I don't watch anything.
Right.
I'm missing everything. So I haven't watched The fucking Bear. I haven't watched Oppenheimer.
I haven't watched The Bear either.
But
I
the
haven't
big
watched
movies,
It's hilarious.
Guys, I know everybody loves it. I'm friends with Chris. We're
Yeah.
friends with Chris.
Yeah.
We know Chris.
but all these big things, the reason I don't care about any of the awards things, I've never watched any of it.
Yeah.
I haven't even heard of half the actors.
Right.
I mean,
So I'm like, this is the biggest star. I'm like, it's a great looking kid. I've never heard of him. But he's a great looking, I get it.
yeah.
You know, I'm not surprised. Look at this fucking guy.
Yeah.
But when Eduardo got on the screen we were at the Paramount in South by Southwest, the entire room went, ah. And I was like, this fucking dude is loved. One of the reshoots, bring him back. That scene in the underpass
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
there. That's a
Fantastic.
reshoot.
Oh, I love that scene.
Wasn't there.
Because, okay, wait, I don't want to talk, I don't want to
Yeah,
spoil
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone because that was where I was, I almost was like,
Yeah.
I was pulled over on the side of the road. You know what I mean? I was
You
like,
lived it.
I just lived it yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh
Here's
my
where we're at.
gosh.
Jake, this has been so delightful.
Really great seeing
Thank you for
guys.
coming over. It was so good to see you.
You too.
I'll tell BB you said hi.
Please. I'll tell Clay and Elizabeth. You say hi.
Thanks for being our first in-person guest.
And probably
Yeah.
our last, if I'm
Really?
being honest.
Yeah.
Back to the Zoom.
Well, because she's in New
I'm in
York
New
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
for
yeah.
now,
here
for the time
and-
being. When we're in person,
For
we're
the
in
time
person.
being, but guess what? Where's that sunset?
To the east. It was to the east.
To the
No, I
east.
mean wrong direction.
Other direction.
Come on
Other-
home. Come on home.
I'm ready. Everybody knows I want to move back here.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. And like, it's just complicated. I mean, it's complicated. Everything's complicated.
Oh.
But like,
Everything's complicated, but nothing's real.
everything's complicated. Nothing's
That's a title for a different podcast too.
real.
You know, I just feel like everything's like we learn all the time in a hard way that everything's temporary.
Yeah.
So
My older daughter is going to boarding school in Sweden this year.
Holy shit.
It's insane. And
From
so,
like all like just boarding school. She leaves in August, comes back at Christmas.
well, that was, yeah, sort of. It's been a process.
Yeah,
but
understood.
it was all her. Like, I have no skin in this game. I didn't want this to
You
happen.
never would have.
No,
Yeah.
ever.
She
in a
just
million
picked
years.
it and yeah.
It's a whole journey. But anyway, so she.
Well, you said she's into the. You said in terms of the acting.
She's.
Yeah, she's dramatic.
She's dramatic.
She's
she
good.
had to like. She literally.
She's gonna be a
was
big
like-
star.
She literally was like, "I'm going to go to Sweden for boarding." Like, okay, Birdie. But so can't be on the West Coast when your kid is in.
Oh,
Europe.
because it just adds another.
It's just
yeah.
crazy. It's just crazy. And then the little one is in 5th, and like she's really in. They're like going. They're going through
Yeah.
like puberty stuff,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like she really has great friends, and she
So you
loves
don't
her
want,
friends.
Yeah, you don't want to uproot
I
it.
feel like it's really
I agree.
rude. I feel like it's rude
I don't
to
disagree.
do for like my personal happiness.
I
Yeah.
totally agree that when the kids get a situation, even if you're unhappy with the school or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that's
yeah.
happening, we just had like a big talk about this where it was, well, we could maybe do blank. And I was driving to like, let's look at other worlds. And it was the kids that said no.
No.
And I
Yeah.
had to go. My wife looked at me and I was like, oh, that means no. My wife
Yeah.
also said about movies at a certain point, we're done traveling with you.
Yeah.
right.
And you go like, oh, I
And then-
thought of this differently.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I guess I'm done doing location movies.
And that's okay. So like I did that years ago,
Yeah.
which was that the Danny show was only the exception
Yes.
because they were shooting it over the summer because Danny,
So summer works.
yeah, summer works. And Danny is very family focused too.
Right.
And so like it was like honestly the best
Of course.
summer of everyone's
Yeah,
lives.
you have a blast. So
Truly.
So I had a pilot that I was really excited about after New Girl. Loved it. It's one of the best things I had read. And I thought like, this is exactly what I want to do. They wanted to shoot in Atlanta. I wanted to shoot in LA. And then I said, finally end when we got like, we're at the 1 yard line. And I finally said, I guess if contractually you can guarantee it was a 10 episode streamer.
Mhm.
We start at the end of May and we finish at the end of August. I don't hate my kids doing camp in Atlanta
Sure.
and doing that.
Yeah.
And they said, well, obviously we'll try that, but we
No.
can't guarantee it. And I had to go, I
right.
know we've got a contract and I've had all the meetings. I can't be gone all fall
No.
to do a
Right.
TV show.
right.
Fucking pass.
And look, it's like a fucking privilege
Yes.
for people like
Yeah,
you
but there's
and
also
me,
other jobs.
But there are other jobs.
So it's not
And
saying I'm never going to work again,
That's right.
fuck money.
That's right.
It's, I just can't do that job.
I
Right.
can't do that.
And
job.
there are other jobs. And
Well,
the
'cause
real
you
privilege for
have
us is there's
another-
other jobs.
You have another job, which is being a father.
Yeah.
And-
That one just doesn't pay well. And that one
Right?
costs a little bit of money.
It sure
Yeah,
does,
yeah.
but I love that you take it seriously because so
Yeah.
many people aren't thinking that way.
It's just I remember. Yeah, it's important. It's just important.
Yeah.
It's important. Your kid, like,
You
and
just-
that's
you
the
can't-
that's the
you can't
Henry
get it back.
Winkler. But that's also the thing. It's like, and I have said this on the podcast too. My kids do have to put up with some shit because
Yes.
of who I am.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's like a lot, and also I'm different than you in that like. I've shared a lot of my personal
yeah.
life. They have access to that information about
Totally.
my relationship with their dad in
Yeah,
a way
yeah,
that he
yeah,
has
yeah.
always approved of. Like,
Yes.
our-
But now they're,
but
yeah.
it's
I
different.
agree.
They have to
Totally.
put up with a lot of shit. But do they get to meet Olivia Rodrigo? Yeah, sometimes they do.
Totally.
Do they get to like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so then do I make a concession when like somebody comes to me with like a movie that's like a great part in something, but you're going to be going to Bali. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I can't actually
that one
fucking
doesn't
do
add
that.
up.
That sucks.
That's right.
And it sucks that I can't do it, kind of, but also
It's fine.
it's fine.
It's fine.
But also it's fine.
Yes.
So it's a
Really
solid
quickly
process.
before I go.
Yeah.
I don't know why when we said it's fine, but it sucks, but who cares? Move on. Like, it's fine. Do you guys know the history of the Academy Awards? How it got started?
No, no.
So, drunk history, the whole premise of it was started. I was drunk with Derek Waters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I told
this
him
is the best story.
and I
Right.
told him an Otis Redding story.
Yes.
And then he thought you're lying and wanted to get people drunk.
right.
So I was with a friend the other day and he told me this story. I have not fully vetted
I
this.
can't wait. I can't wait.
The history of because I've felt with all the award stuff, it always feels so weird
Me
to
too.
me.
It's
Okay.
very
It's so
weird.
embarrassing for our industry. So embarrassing for peers. I'm like, this is
Totally.
the geekiest.
my
And we're
God.
getting too old. Like it makes sense when you're 19, but at a
Oh.
certain age, I'm like, this is getting silly
I'm with you.
and like gross and embarrassing. And like, anyhow, just the whole world, the whole
All of it.
pageantry of it.
That
I'm
it's like beauty pageants. How it's like a weird industry
it's
that
so
you're
wild. But
Yeah,
I'm like, but so going back to really fast
Yeah,
about like,
okay.
yeah, we are privileged. We get together, and any parent of a different situation where they have to travel for work and they need the money, no fucking judgment,
Right, right.
Because the idea of what I hate about TV messaging is in every message when one parent gets a job elsewhere, they pass and the music comes on, and you go, well, what if you need the money?
right.
Because when we were growing up and we needed a little bit of money, you're like, no, paying is the number one importance, right?
Yes.
So in our business, we are in a different spot. So blah, blah, blah. The history of the Academy Awards happened when the actors were first starting to get together to form a union
Uh-huh.
and discussing wages against the studios
Oh.
and saying like, we might be getting ripped off by them by having like studio deals where they pick us
Right.
at 14 and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
pick
yeah.
our movies and our entire career. And
Yes.
actors for the first time stopped going, fuck all this gratitude.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we're big stars. We have these lives. We don't make the money people think we make, but they do. The studios got together and said, this is not going in the right direction.
Right.
What if we create an award show
Yes.
where we pit them against each other
Yeah.
with arbitrary things? We give them a trophy, and that trophy means you are the best, you are the greatest. We make it very glamorous. The guys have to be in tuxedos, the women's are gowns. We make it the night of Hollywood, and your dream is not to make $5 million. It's to win a trophy.
Oh
And when
my
you get the
fucking
trophy,
God.
you go, as a little boy,
I dream.
my dream was to be here in front of you, and I did it in front of my peers, and everybody cries, and you are the greatest. But there's no money with that trophy.
No.
Oh no.
You don't get that trophy plus a bag of
No,
gold.
no.
It's just a trophy.
But the studios do. The
of course they
studios
do, because
get
they
the bag
market,
of
because
gold.
all of their movies that are there, you'll see the bumps. It'll be like, it did a 40, it went back.
Then everybody goes and sees the
It's
movies
a
again. It's back in the
bump.
theater.
And then what? Going back to the beginning thing of like, well, what are your bonuses like? Well, those didn't fully cut in because those bonuses were just and you go like, well, wonderful. And then how do you get those awards? Well, you hire a publicist out of pocket and you do a campaign,
Right.
right.
and you go, oh my God, there's a lot about our business where I'm like, they've turned us into clowns.
you
Yes.
run for it.
And
You
you
run
fight
for
for it. And
it.
the reason you do is because everybody is telling you, if you get this is wonderful. This is great. Now, I get it in terms of if your show gets an Emmy, you're not going to get cut.
Right.
If Minx, which we were pushing season 1 for awards, because if we became an award show, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean anybody in the country's watching it.
Right.
That means HBO Max can't cancel it.
Right.
Right.
Just because they don't want to look bad.
Because we are an award show, that just means, in my opinion, LA likes you and New
Right.
York likes you.
Right.
Right.
And if you're liked
And
by
or by the way, maybe.
maybe.
They're like, heard it's good.
Exactly
By the-
right.
Heard it's great.
And
Haven't
willing to
watched
vote for
it.
it.
Haven't watched it. Heard it's
Yes,
great.
but also willing to vote for it. Why? Because everybody loves you and we want that person on this red carpet.
Yes.
And if you're those people that help that red carpet and help that night on ABC,
Oh my God, totally.
it would be really nice to
Yeah.
have the big stars winning.
Totally.
That's
Yeah.
good television.
Yeah.
And you go like, oh my God. And I'm not positive it's true.
No,
If
that's
that-
I think that is true.
But
It's
that
very
finally
true.
made sense to me of like, oh, that's right. I thought you went like this and that meant you were rich forever.
yeah.
And you're like, no, that means you have a trophy.
Right.
No,
They
it
hung
means
And that
for
means
it.
you go eat in and out in your tuxedo and everyone goes like, oh my God, you're a real person.
You're so regular.
Yeah.
I almost got
everybody
in and
eats.
out on the way here. I really want it, guys.
I
I
got it
really want.
yesterday.
So fucking
So
good.
good, yeah.
So good.
My kids want it. There's like a tradition. We do it every Monday with their friends.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Aw.
love that.
They eat in the car. They got a bunch of buddies. We put the seats down.
I love
That's really
that.
cute.
Watch the little screen in the car. Less cute, but real.
No, very fucking real.
I miss the little car screen.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, it's just an
You don't-
iPad now.
Yes.
Oh, true. I
Or
miss
a
the
phone.
minivan flip down.
Yes.
I actually think I heard this
Yes.
during the strike.
Yes.
This is like
it's
a
worth
story that's like,
Googling,
yeah, I think
because
it's
a buddy
right.
told me I asked a friend, and my friend finished the story, and then I just honestly haven't Googled it because I forgot about it, and I just thought about it for the first time here. But what a fucking story! I'm
What
like,
if I also was just like,
of course,
Of course.
of
Of course.
of course.
Of
And then when
course.
you've gone through it, because I have, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm in a tuxedo. What am I doing here? Well, this is a dinner with who? Voters. And I'm like, again, I'm paying for this.
Right.
right.
I am literally paying.
Quite
to do
literally
this.
paying.
And you're
for
like,
this.
this is wild.
Well, and you also like have to like, it's that then that you really have to fucking respect. There are some actors that just don't do it.
Yes.
Won't
Right.
fucking show
Agreed.
up. An Emma Thompson, I'm going to take an Emma Thompson any day of the week. She's like, doesn't go, doesn't show up, won't
yeah, that's true.
fucking
It is the
do
same
it.
group.
Yeah, there are people that are just
Yeah.
like, nah.
So
I'm not
I've
interested.
years, I didn't grow up watching them. So a lot of families, they watched it. Mine wasn't that.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So I don't know if I've ever watched a full award show of any of them. So I don't know all the stuff. So it wasn't something that's ever been hot for me. When I heard this story after the strike, because that strike
Yeah.
really pissed me
It
off
was-
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It really showed what they think of us. And then in my opinion, the deal showed like what we think of us.
for sure.
And there's a lot where I'm like, well, God damn, man, we cost a lot of jobs and they really let us know how they view us.
Yes.
And I was like, whew. And then hearing this, I'm like, oh, I'm like seeing the building blocks of how this business was formed. And what we get is the privilege of doing this job. I've had a thing once where my agents called me on a job and they said, so it's a movie, blah, blah, blah. And they said, the director wants to know if you're interested in meeting. And I said, possibly. What's the budget? Where would my fee kind of be? And they said, way too early. And I said, so this is the call I'm getting. Imagine I'm a plumber.
Mm.
And you
Right.
say, there's an 8-story building.
Yep.
They would
Right.
like you to lay pipe in the entire building. Are you interested? Well, possibly.
right.
If you tell me the pay is $150 total, I'm not.
right.
If you tell me the pay is $1 million,
Right.
well, yes, I am. Now, when I'm doing the plumbing, well, it's the art of the game. I do care.
right.
But how could I ever say I was interested or not before we talk about the details of the thing? Where does it shoot? What's the budget? What am I needed for? And they go,
Right.
well, that's not there yet. They just want to know if creatively you like the script. And I go, as a plumber, I like every script.
100%.
I like plumbing.
You
I
are
like
the-
pipes.
the plumber
I like
of
water. I like
Hollywood.
to be a
Yes.
plumber.
Yeah.
You're a tradesman.
So I might say, oh, in the end, unfortunately, the way you want to lay this toilet doesn't work for me.
Right.
But it might work. Can we make some changes?
Right. That's a really good way to look
It's
at
an
it.
incredible way to look at it. And also, like, God, it's also the thing of like how lucky I've been to monetize my fucking Instagram
Yeah,
and be able to make money not
Yes,
doing
That's right.
this thing for hire so that I can actually figure out and make the things that I want to make the way that I want to make
Yeah,
them.
decide what you want to do. I mean,
But
I feel I'm not an actor either, but I feel lucky that I've been able to say like, no, I don't want to work on that shit show
because
Because-
of the podcast.
But even the directing game, which is so wild, and I did not know this. Now, I'm not talking about like the big directors. But after my movie came out, there was the conversation of what are you going to direct, or even kind of before when it's
Mhm,
sold,
mhm.
what are you going to do next? And I thought like, oh, I guess now I'm in consideration for directing jobs. So I went like, well, what's out there? So then I got sent to scripts.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that one's pretty interesting. I don't know if I want to do it, but it's interesting. And then they told me what the process is. They're not offering it to me.
Right.
Right.
I need to make a director's lookbook and
And
pitch
Yeah.
what I would do differently on
Yeah.
the script.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
tell them the best way to make their movie, in my opinion.
Yes.
I need to compete against 15 other directors.
Yes.
That means the writers, the producers get to hear all of our ideas. And then they go, nobody from that slate. Let's move on for another. Now I've put real work into your
Yes.
project. There's not even a budget for it.
Right.
And I went like, I'll never do that.
No.
This makes fundamentally no
it
sense.
makes no sense.
And then they'll go like, well, a lot of directors just really want to direct so bad that they're willing to do it. And I'm
For
like,
sure.
well, you're exploiting them. You're ripping
100%.
everybody. It doesn't,
100%.
if you want to do that, then you have to pay
You have
for
to pay
that.
for it. You should
And
pay
you're
for
like,
it.
no, of course not. Well, that's not how the game works. I'm like, who fucking wrote all these
Yes.
insane rules?
It's wild. And it's also
wild.
It's also fucking wild that like, yes, that then the narrative becomes from their side, like, oh, these fucking whiny babies.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
They
so
don't understand
lucky
how
to
privileged-
live
yes.
the dream. And they look at how much money they make and da 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 da. And like they really, it's like the greatest trick the devil ever pulled, right?
Yeah.
Is convincing you that he didn't exist, which is like the
Totally.
billionaires
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
fucking country are pitting like everybody
Yeah.
that is workers.
Yes.
We're all fucking
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
workers.
yeah.
And they're just pitting us against each other based on like incremental differences.
Yeah.
When in fact, like we are talking about like a systemic issue that is like the money is up here. And there is a very small percentage of people that are holding all of the cards for every industry in this fucking world right now. And we're all down here and we're fighting over like fucking, I don't know, preferences.
Whether you
about,
get a driver or a rental car,
like,
I'm the color purple.
Sure.
You
Or
know?
like, yes. Or
Is
like,
that true? Yeah.
Yeah. Like Oprah had to step in because people were like, we're tired. We don't want to drive ourselves in rental cars. Can we just get a driver at 2 a.m?
yeah.
And they had
or-
to like tell Oprah, and
Yeah.
Oprah had to be like, hey, they're too tired to drive themselves. What's the difference in
Yeah.
cost between that?
Yeah.
But I'm not even
$7?
saying like, I'm not even talking literally about Hollywood. I'm saying
Right.
like,
just in general.
they're,
Yes.
they're like liberals versus conservatives
Right.
is what they've all convinced us that this fight needs to be. When the truth is the fight is like about the fucking distribution of wealth
Yeah.
and like how we are all being like more and more. I mean, creativity is being stripped away, like education is being stripped away, all to like uphold like a system that only is benefiting like a very, very small percentage of
It's like-
people.
In school, I was a cheerleader, and one of the most stressful things I always felt like was like trying out for cheerleading. Like in my school, you had to try out for cheerleading every year. You didn't automatically make it the next
Interesting.
year. And girls didn't make it sometimes.
Right.
Like they'd be on it for 2 years, and then year 3, no, someone came up from behind. And it was so stressful. And I was just like, why do I put myself through this? And I was so glad that it was limited to like
Yes.
7 years of doing that. But then like basically chose a career that is
Yeah.
so similar, but like for money, not
Yes.
even for like, not even for like the uniform
Yeah,
and
yeah,
getting
yeah.
to go to the games. It's like, you know, even on like a comedy variety writer level, doing these packets for like late night shows. And they're like just insanely onerous. And they'll
Yeah.
be like, you have 24 hours to turn this around and get it in. And I'm just like, how about if you just like, maybe you heard about me and you like me or maybe,
Yeah.
you know, just consider 10 people.
Totally.
Or, you know, I worked on Graham Norton's American show when he came to the US to do a show for a short time. And I just got brought in for a meeting because somebody was like, you should meet her. And then they were like, okay, we like you. Do you have the rest of the day? Can you stay for the rest of the day? And so I stayed for the rest of the day. And then at the end of the day, they were like, that was fun. Do you want to come back tomorrow? And I was like, okay. And then like 3 days later, I was like, what am I getting to stay? Like what's
Right.
happening? And they were like, yeah, but they had paid me for every day they asked me to
interesting.
stay.
Okay.
And I was like, I've known since then there was another way to do
Yeah,
this.
totally.
We don't have to like try out for cheerleading and
Yeah.
pay for the privilege
Yeah.
of doing it. That's wild. It's
I
ridiculous.
do just appreciate anyone. Well, you know what? I'm going to say it. Birdie just read this to me in the car while I was driving, and she was telling me about her self-diagnosis of dyslexia and this kind of math dyslexia.
Thank you, TikTok.
But she was saying that the benefits are outside the box thinkers. And she's like, you
Mhm.
always say I'm an outside the box thinker. And I do feel like I appreciate that you're an outside the box thinker. From one outside the
Yeah,
box
totally.
thinker to another.
Well, it's fun.
It's fun.
But it's also not, because I'm also not everything needs to always be knocked down. And I'm
Right.
also not like, look, if a studio comes with a good offer
Great.
and it works,
Sure.
I am a plumber.
Yes.
So I like to do so, but I mean it. Like some
Yeah.
people, I also feel like when you think outside the box, a lot of times people go like, well, burn it all down.
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe in burning it all down. And I do agree. There's a lot of money at the top, but there's variations. When you're trying to pay your bills and you look at the guy who was on New Girl, we are living different fights.
100%.
And so I'm like, yes. And I understand that I am in a different spot. But when I look at my spot, I just go to the people way above me who are deciding how money is distributed and what I should value. And I go, I do value doing what I do. Never make it that I don't love to do this game. I don't like that you sit there with the gold and go, dance a little bit more, spin around, and here you go.
Right.
And I go, well, I would like to dance for the audience. I'm a fucking dancer. Who gives a shit?
Right.
But I feel more like, shouldn't I be on like a street corner dancing? And if the tourists stop and pay, shouldn't I get the money in that hat?
Right.
Why is that money going to
Back to you.
Stars?
Right,
And then
right.
Stars goes, we've decided you're not going to dance on Saturday. And I go, well, that's all the tourists are there. I'd love to fucking dance.
Right.
And they go, well, we're going to have you dance on Tuesday down over here. And I go, there's nobody there. And so my whole thing is not that I hate the whole thing.
Yes, I agree.
There's just certain moves that I'm like, guys, it's getting goofy in 2024.
It's goofy.
And it
It's
might
goofy.
have worked really well in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Right.
People are finding things differently. The podcast I'm doing, We're Here to Help, the numbers we pulled in the first month were bigger than the numbers from certain shows I've done because I'm an analytics guy.
Right.
So I try to study all the numbers. We're doing bigger numbers. And at that point, I'm recording from my fucking closet. And the cost to do it was we paid our producer, Kevin.
Zero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're like, for $500, we'll keep you're doing this. And I'm like, I'm paying out of pocket. I'll just give you this. Eventually, if we get ads, I'll recoup. And if we don't get ads, we're only doing 10 because I'm not going to spend
Right.
$100,000 to talk in my fucking
Right.
closet.
Right.
So out of that money, we're beating these streamers' entire numbers.
well,
And you go, the budget for that, the rules they want when they go, great, in terms of pitching, we'd like you to do this. And you go, I don't want to fly to New York and do a whole press tour. And they go, you get a call, go, is everything all right with Jake? Everything's great. I would love to do press and sell it. I just don't need to be in a hotel and do like shows that your company also owns. And I'm
Right.
filling 7 minutes on your couches.
Right.
I would rather do this with people where I'm like, and then you go, it's not a bad attitude. It's a different way to try to sell the same vacuum. And if I'm going to sell it, fucking go Hoover, comma, Johnson, comma, whoever else is there. Because I would love to sell it.
Right.
And then I will go to the film festival. But fucking A, if I'm selling the vacuums and I built the vacuums, I designed the vacuums, and I'm the one vacuuming, I
Right.
should get first dollar gross.
I mean,
But
you don't have to tell me.
We're on the
But we're also
same
doing a
page.
podcast in a kitchen, so I'm preaching to the choir. But
Yeah.
that's the same idea.
But we also
It
like
works.
Jake, at one point when the Instagram story thing started, like
Yeah.
in the beginning of it, I think
You were first. I remember
I
that.
was.
You were.
yeah, but
you
you
were
an
the fir-
article. I mean, there's a New Yorker article.
But you
People
were
can look it up.
You were the first one, and I remember it, that I was like, this is becoming a whole thing, and she's just talking and exercising and talking to an audience directly.
Yes.
And then I remember
People thought I was crazy. By the way,
Yeah.
actor, like some people
yes.
that I will not mention. A couple of people reached out to me directly. Some people reached out to friends of mine. Some people reached out to Mark and were like, is Busy okay? What is she doing? She's going to ruin her career. True.
Really?
Yes. 100
Yeah,
fucking percent
yeah.
that happened. But I was getting
Oh.
at like the height of it, 230,000 people watching my Instagram stories.
Yeah.
230,000.
Okay, those are big numbers.
That's for people that don't understand how many people watch anything on HBO or Max.
I was going to say
That's what it
it's
is.
6 times what I heard the audience for a very well-funded, well-publicized show that came out.
and won awards.
Yeah.
But for real, that's not talking
Yeah.
shit.
No, it's
The-
just
'cause
the numbers.
The numbers,
6 times.
the numbers are very low for a lot of those shows,
Yes.
and the town doesn't care,
Right.
Because they're happy about it.
Yeah,
and then you
right.
do something like this, where you're talking direct to the audience, and you go, "Well, these numbers are really big," but the town is then saying, "Don't do that," and I'm like, "There's something that's weird."
Right.
And I want to do things that I care about and that I really like, and I like a certain quality. I don't need an executive to tell me. I am a snob with my stuff. I do give a shit.
Yes.
But I'm like, But if I can go directly to the audience and we can form that, there has to be and look, and then if these big corporations want to play ball,
Yeah.
I would be happy to play ball with you.
Yeah.
I would be happy to
Same.
also help with your reach.
100%.
Because I'll tell you, so I was a real arms crossed guy on Self-Reliance. Hulu was a pretty good fucking partner. And there was a moment when I sat with their PR team, and this is not a joke, and Allie Bell can back it up, but they kept getting pushed and pushed of this meeting. And I thought like, I'm fucking done. And I started the meeting like this, and I was like, all right, what are we doing? They laid out their campaign. At the 3/4 mark, I stopped and I go, I just want to thank you guys. This is a very exciting push. And their trailer that they put me
trailer
with
is fucking great.
awesome. And they paired me with Neon, and we did a whole build. It was in fucking Times Square. There were posters of it. They did a big spend. So this is a movie that a lot of people have heard on. It won the first weekend on Hulu. And I'm like, oh, because you spent.
Right.
And I'm like, I appreciate what you guys did so much. You guys are a machine. I want to be in the machine. But we have to work together.
What
100%.
people might not realize, Hollywood Break, is that what you're experiencing is like, sounds like the dream. It's where people who are in charge of, who are your partners in something, believe in what you're doing and they get it.
And they don't need me to tell them what it is. They say, this is what we think it is. And I go, I love your take.
Right.
Even their first early cuts of that trailer, I was like, you fucking guys, you guys are on it.
Yeah.
So what
trailer's
what
great.
people
Great.
might
The poster's really cool.
Yeah.
what people might not know is that very often the people that you're trying to work with, it's adversarial because they don't believe in it.
Yeah, or
they're
they see it differently.
They see it differently. And so they're just like, I don't know, I just got put on this. Like someone who believed in it, bought it, but then I got assigned to be the exec.
So going off of Minx for a second,
Uh-huh.
I felt like all they were selling with Minx was feminism.
Right.
And I personally think the least interesting part of Minx was just feminism. Because of course it's feminist.
Obviously. It's
She's a female writer who in the 70s says, why do we have Playboys? I think women want to see images of naked men as much as men want to see images of naked women.
Right.
That message is there. My whole thought was, fucking put me around dudes. Rather than say to dudes, this isn't for you, because that word is feeling to you like you're lesser, where feminism just means equal.
Right.
So put me around guys. And what's this show about? Well, you do see some hogs, but you also see a lot of naked women. I've never been around more naked women at work in my life.
Right.
So all they talk about is the dudes. Well, my character was a pornographer.
Right.
On staff, actresses, their entire job was to be like models for the different magazines.
Right.
So it was very normal for me to be at work, be around unthinkably attractive women in robes, and we're small talking, and then they're like ready to shoot, and they're like, all right, Jake. Every fourth episode, there's a dick. Every episode, while
there are some boobs.
I'm in a oneer, you're seeing an unthinkably hot babe in the background with like a peacock hat on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm like, but if we're just selling this as one thing, I was like, of course sell it that way.
Yeah.
But fuck, there's other ways to sell. And I'm like, oh, they just didn't want to. So, they were doing things like, we're doing a pop-up ad in West Hollywood where we're giving out dildos. Is Jake willing to come and post about it? And I'm like, no,
that's not for me.
I was like, no, thank you. And then is he less excited? I'm like, I love the show.
Right.
But fucking put me on Sports Center.
Right.
Let me talk about the Chicago Bears, who I love, and this fucking guy, Doug Renetti, who's trying to make money. Right. Who's he making it off of? A fucking woman.
Right.
Who's he making it off next? A fucking guy. Who cares?
Right. That's something we love to talk about too, about like who things are made for, but can they be enjoyed? I
view what Minx was to me is a workplace comedy.
Yes.
And then what I think it went out there as is a feminist tale. And then even that, some feminists were like, not feminist enough. But I'm like, but I understand why we're getting into that debate, because what's being sold to you is this is the feminist show for you.
Right.
If this is a workplace comedy and you go, not feminist, you go, fuck off. Then don't watch it, goofy.
Right.
But if you tell somebody.
It's the Barney Miller of porn.
Yes, but if you tell somebody this is a theme you really care about, this is the show for you, then you go, well, that's the theme I care about, but you didn't quite do it right.
You have to live up
How
to
about that same person you go, it's a workplace comedy you stumbled across. And you go, a lot of great themes.
Right.
They don't hit as hard as I think feminism should be hit. but a really fun 30 minutes.
Right.
Well, by the way, I do
And,
think
like-
that they succeed in Girls Five Eva with like just saying that it's like a goofy show about a girl group from the 90s trying to make a comeback.
Right.
That's it.
The truth is that it's like a social commentary about the way that we treat women in entertainment
and throw them away.
and throw them away
Yes.
when they're no longer
But
viable.
what we're selling
But-
to you, if we're
yes.
selling a vacuum, is something that sucks dirt up.
right.
Right.
It's
Right.
just, you're
It's just
here to have fun.
It's just fun.
If you watch it and don't get that message, that's okay too.
yeah, it's okay too.
Did you like the movie?
Well, that's why Danny is the fucking best.
yeah,
That's why Danny McBride is also
Such
to
a fan.
me like the greatest
Yeah.
because he views all of these things as like great storytelling. Want
Yeah.
it to be as fucking fun and as truthful and real
Mm-hmm.
as he can like get to that thing, and then all the other stuff is like so subversive and in there. And like the dudes that he's fucking making fun of love the show, love him.
Right.
Yeah.
And the people who get it as satire or get what he's putting across
Right.
also fucking love it.
Right.
It like reaches every direction.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
'Cause
Archie
it's-
that's what we-
Bunker.
'cause it's
you
Archie
know,
Bunker.
Yeah.
Because it's fun.
Because
Yeah.
it's fun.
You watch it because it's
and
fun
that's what
funny.
I'm like, that's what it's supposed to be.
You know
and
what?
that goes back to when you were saying, like, well, what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
Like if I were Danny, I wouldn't want that breakdown to go out there in terms of the people he's making fun of. Because,
Right.
and I'll tell you
Right,
why.
by the way, he would never say that.
But that's why, because deep down, probably there's a part of Danny, and I only met him a couple times, huge fan. But he's like, I am both.
Right.
Well, we all are kind of both.
agreed, but it's like, I'm not saying I'm making fun of this so that my team of elites can laugh at you. You go, both sides are pretty goofy. And
Right.
unfortunately, I'm a little bit of an idiot on both sides.
Right. Right.
But this is just meant for like both sides to watch and laugh. And if you're making something that alienates half the people, I'm like, oh, I don't understand that either. The whole idea, when you go back to like All in the Family, going back to Archie Bunker, Rob Reiner did New Girl. And we were talking about comedy and this and that. And we were talking about our numbers at that show. And we were pretty happy with him. And he said how TV keeps changing and changing, how it used to be better. And he was talking about how, because it really brought everyone together and it didn't matter any of your politics or anything, you all watched together.
Right.
And he said, there used to be a thing where, let's say you had a great joke at taping, like minute 8. And he's like, just brought the theater down. It was the best written joke. I nailed it. Everybody nailed it. He would go, at the same time you knew all of America was going to laugh together. And he goes, you could feel it. And I thought like, man, that's so great about entertainment. And it's going away because it's so fragmented.
It's so fragmented.
But the idea
and
of like,
non-linear.
but finding something that like, even if politically, if you're home and your dad sees it one way and you hate him for it and you see it this way, you can talk about this. And in the middle, you can connect. And that shit I think is so important about entertainment. The way sports work. We might have been fighting so hard, but we both love the Bears. So we can always talk the Bears. And eventually we're bonding.
Right.
We're close again. We left this other thing over here. And I'm like, that's what I think entertainment should be. Get together, all have fun, watch it. If there's messaging, great. If there's not,
right.
great.
If
But
there's
let
a
it be for
pill-
all.
If there's a pill, it's in cheese.
Hide it in so
Yeah.
much peanut butter.
So much cheese,
And
so
then
much
it's
peanut
so
butter.
covered in peanut butter that you go like, I took the pill, it didn't affect me. And you go, that's okay. How'd you like the peanut butter? Fucking tasted great.
Peanut butter tasted great.
And to me, that I was like, that's another thing that's very important to me these days.
Yeah.
That I feel like this town is going away from, where everything, even when I get pitched stuff, they'll tell me what they're trying to do and the point of it. And I'll go, what's the story?
Right.
You forgot to tell me what's funny about it.
Right.
And
or
also,
with, yes,
like-
exactly.
Like, give you some credit for being able to discern the point.
Yes.
Like, as you were saying,
Yes.
like a message is a takeaway is a personal thing. So I think we're saying a lot of things that used to maybe go without saying.
Yes. I think that's right.
And it's like, it's a little spoilery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we've kept you here for so long. This
Well,
is
you
almost
live
the
here now, so I feel
Yeah,
like
you-
I don't know.
So,
I was
what are we doing for
awkward.
dinner?
I
I was-
mean,
I'm willing to eat anything. We just need to order it fast.
Here's what I was going to say is that it's basically been our whole podcast. And so the way that we usually end,
Yeah.
not to make you stay here for
Well,
a
yeah,
moment
yeah.
longer. But we usually say what we did our best at this week. And
This week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
What'd you do your best at? This
What'd you
week?
guys do your best
Okay,
at
we'll
this
go
week?
first.
Yeah.
Caissie.
Well, okay. So I got out and I was social and I saw, I'm not going to say who, but I went to lunch with someone who we had been trying to go for lunch.
Bette Midler.
And we went and we laughed our fucking asses off so
Fun.
hard in the restaurant. And it was just good because those are the kind of things that like I forget. Sometimes I forget like that I'm an adult and I could have a cocktail if I wanted to, things like that. And like going out is really something that's become not automatic for me anymore. And so, so I was just really happy to have lunch with someone who's special to me and laugh till my face hurt.
That's really a great thing to do your best at.
Yeah.
Okay, I did my best at work stuff because I finished that pilot treatment totally and sent it off.
Congrats.
And got great feedback and everything was good. And I organized a bunch of shit in my brain. And I think I might work with you guys this, she's she's an artist. Like she showed at the Whitney, but she's doing like artist coaching, like life coaching kind of thing. But it's
with art.
But like for art.
Oh,
so
I might know this person or know of this person.
Avery.
Yeah.
Do you know my story with Avery?
No.
My story with Avery is also like a very kind of like kismet-y thing. I met Avery in Sweden when I went to drop Birdie off at school, and my best friend was dying of cancer. My best friend from high school, and she had gone into hospice when we took Birdie to Sweden, and it was just like a very intense moment. And through like a confluence of circumstances, we ended up meeting, and we just started talking. And then Avery said something about going to a Quaker school for high school, and I said, "That's so funny. My other best friend, Emily Beebe's boyfriend who passed away, Chuck, went to a Quaker school." And Avery looked at me and was like, "I know Chuck.
Wow.
Chuck and I were friends in high school."
Aww.
And I was like, "The fuck?" What? But anyway, so Avery's back in New York now. And we had exchanged information and reached out because they're starting to do this it's like sort of like it's like coaching but for artists to help you when you have like so many different projects that you're like developing and like interested in doing and whatever. I guess the idea is it's interesting for me to try as someone with ADD.
Yeah.
Is that they like help you really like hone in on what is the thing that is like speaking loudest to you to focus on and like help you to figure out the best ways to put it into the world.
I love that. That sounds so cool. Do you know, I'm never one to toot my own horn, but do you know that I'm thanked in so many books just because when
you're a checker inner.
When someone tells me that they're writing a book, I will email them every few days and say, "How's it going? How did the writing go?"
Every few days is like that. You get to a point where you're like, okay.
My friend John Hodgman will respond to emails when he's writing, like, "Stop yelling at me! I promise." But I will email every few days and be like, "How's it going? Like, is there something that I could do?" I'm not doing it because I'm thirsty to be thanked in books. I'm just saying that has been the result is that I've been thanked in a lot of books for like cheering people on. And I feel like
you should get paid for it because I guess it's a job.
Maybe I need to get into this coaching.
But I also do think I did my best at being proactive in terms of like my writing and the work that I have been wanting to focus on for a minute, but like keep I don't know, painting a bookshelf instead or finding other reasons to not finish things. So anyway, so I did my best at work.
Listen,
Cool.
by the way, I just want to say before we get to what Jake did his best at, I think that painting a bookshelf is part of it, by the way.
Well, obviously it is because yes, I know. But I agree. And I'm not a person who's like, if you're going to be a writer, you got to write every day. That's not how my brain works. It's not how my shit works. But I did feel like I had been like pushing up against this thing. And so I finally I don't know, maybe it was the full moon too. I don't know. I feel like I did my best at that. And then I'm really doing my best at trying to process some fucking deep shit right now. So,
and
there we go.
Find the sunset behind
I gotta
you.
just find which direction I need to go. I don't fucking know. What? Which direction am I headed? Honey, she's confused. Anyway, Jake, what are you doing your best at this week?
Well, the John Hodgman thing sparked something. I was just going to say exercise because I'm trying to do that, but you guys this is a very open podcast. And so I wouldn't share this regularly because it is mentioning somebody and it's something that I don't normally do, but I just went to San Fran Sketch Fest with Derek Waters.
The best.
my
buddy.
Simon Helberg,
Oh
Eric
my God.
Edelstein. My guys.
Did you ever do Derek and Simon?
That's
the
what
show?
we did it for.
Wait, why was I not invited?
So-
I'm in those episodes.
So, okay.
Did
so
you see those episodes that I was in ever?
I
No.
don't remember.
Oh, okay,
Probably
okay.
back in the day. But so it's really funny you bring that up. So we haven't thought Derek and Simon was a thing that happened in 2006.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Bob Odenkirk
Yes.
picked Derek Waters.
Yes.
And Derek was like the center of a whole group of friends.
Yes.
And I wasn't, I didn't have an agent or anything. I wasn't in the union. I think I'd maybe maybe I was in the union because of a commercial, but grinding. And one day Derek was like, hey man, I did that pilot I told you about with Simon. Bob Odenkirk wants to do like a Derek and Simon for like a web series called Super Deluxe before that shit existed.
Before anyone knew what it was.
Yes.
And where there was the same thing where people were like, this is crazy. You shouldn't do
Yes.
this.
100%.
But for us, Mr. Show meant so much to me.
Yeah. it's huge.
Same.
So much. I was like, I liked SNL when I was a kid, but it faded for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of those guys being like, it's the 40th anniversary. I'm like, it doesn't hit me that way.
Right.
But Mr. Show, when I watched that, I was like, it's perfect. I was like, that's what I want to copy. And so anyway, Bob puts this thing together and Derek's like, I think I can get you and Eric in it. So Eric and Edelstein and I are still best buds. We're like, whoa. And then we were on set with Bob. And Bob was the first director where he'd be like, it's funny, Jake, but try it. And I'm like, I couldn't believe I was around like Bob's presence.
Yeah.
And since Bob's always been really nice.
Mhm.
Bob at South by Southwest, it's my brother's favorite moment from the festival is he's like, you and me are walking out at the end of the movie and Bob's in the lobby and Bob saw it and he just goes like, good stuff, Jake. And I'm like, oh, Bob, I got to go get on stage. And he's like, see, and then he disappears. But
That's
he's
fucking
just been a
Bob.
character
He's
like that
amazing.
for me a few times in my life.
Mm.
And we all went to San Fran to do, it was a confusing thing. It was a panel for the Derek and Simon show, but no one has seen Derek and Simon.
No one has seen
Right.
it.
So, but it was,
Ashley Johnson there?
no.
Oh, okay.
I think it was, they just wanted Derek and Simon and Bob. And then I think Derek was like, could Jake and Eric come?
Yeah. Also,
There's
I
no
do want to
reason
say,
Eric and I were
do
there.
want to say, I think Ashley lives on the East Coast and I
Yes.
live on the East Coast. And I just know from Sketchfest, I used to go literally every year for 11 years. And they would be like,
Right.
will you do this fucking random? Will you do
Yeah,
this? And then
yeah,
also
yeah.
there's that. And
It's financial. Yeah,
I
it's close.
have not been asked since I moved to New York to come do a goddamn
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
at
yeah,
Sketchfest,
amazing.
which
Right.
makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But so we all fly out there together, and I was viewing it as a chance, really, because I'm the same as I don't socialize that much. It's
Yeah.
like with work, I socialize doing the pod. I see people are coming out, I see that, and then I have kids. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
And so a guy like Derek and Eric will come out. We get lunches, so I'll have my rotation lunch friends.
Sure.
But I don't see Simon enough. I don't see Derek enough. I love those guys.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, it'll just be fun no matter what. I'm just hanging out, and I am gonna go to the bar after.
Yes.
I am gonna do the night.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm in. But we went to this lunch that Bob is like his favorite Chinese restaurant. We're all talking. And then after he said, rather than take an Uber back to the hotel, let's walk. It's 1.5 miles. Let's just do it. So as we started, I had this out of body experience where I was just looking at Bob
Mm.
and I was like, I love Bob. I love how he does his career.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the choices he makes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that he went from a sketch writer to Saul Goodman. I like that he did Nobody. I was like, and I was thinking like, I just want to like know more. And then I realized like, I don't know how many more of these I'm going to get. So I put my hand on his shoulder. We were at a red light waiting to cross. And I go, I just want to say like, you mean a lot to me in my life and my career. And I was like, Mr. Show changed me. The work you do, I'm like, you're like a creative North Star. The way he did press, I was really afraid my movie was going to tank and people were going to hate it and it was going to really fuck up my career and people were going to be like, oh, you were so ambitious and you missed. And I was like, oh, fuck, like I'm going to have to grind so hard to get it back and to like get an offer as an actor. And I'm like, and I don't have it in me to audition.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so if it all goes away, like, fuck, I'm off the merry-go-round. But the merry-go-round's fun. And then I would read Bob's press where he would say like, you know, I'm not a great director. Critics always hate it, but I love to direct and it's fun. But I'm a great sketch writer. And I went like, he's in front of it.
Right.
Everybody always has to sell it like they're the best. And I'm like, look, I know I'm not a great director. I'm trying. So I would copy how he would do it. And they would go like, what did you like about this movie? And I'd go like, I'm not a natural director. I'm not great at it. I'm a character actor. But I really enjoyed it in blank. And so I sat and told him like creatively what he means to me.
Oh.
And he went like, thanks, Jake. That's really nice to hear. And then we had like an hour walk that I could just like ask him questions.
Oh my God, that's
and
amazing.
he was so, where I'm like, and how do you choose this? And why do you do that? And then I would go, this is really hard for me, but I don't like when a director's telling me what to do and I don't agree with them. And I'm like, I know you must have that. You're Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you do? And then he would like talk
Wait,
for
but
10
how
minutes.
does he do that? Wait, tell me.
He sometimes chooses, I'm going to be an actor in this. And if you choose to go down that road and that's what the thing is, then enjoy the art of that. And even if
Okay.
you could change it and put it into your own words, he was like, when I was doing Saul, he was like, the game for me of that was to not say, I would rather do it this way,
Yeah.
but to find a way to do it their way.
Yes.
And I went like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
You
cool.
can't always control it, but like there
Yeah.
was so much. And we got back to the hotel and I had like that's a older version of me because I'm not somebody who would be open, especially with men. To a female, I would be way more open with. But being raised by a single mom, good with
Right.
that.
Right.
When there's a man who's older, I'm just giving a pleasure seeing you, brother.
Right.
And then they leave and I go like, what a guy.
Right.
And I was like, that was a new version that turned out like really better. Like then feeling close to Bob and
Yeah.
admitting like, I look up to you. I think you're great. I like how you do everything.
It's so vulnerable.
Yeah, and I don't want anything from you.
Right.
I'm not auditioning.
Right.
I don't need to ever act. I'm not saying afterwards like, oh, would you come on my podcast? We're here to help incident.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
I want nothing of you. Just fucking the way you play this game
Yeah.
makes it more fun for me to play in my lane, and our lanes aren't connected.
Right.
And it finished, and I thought like, I'm so happy that happened.
I think
Oh my
it's
God,
so
I love it.
vulnerable and courageous, but also I think like in a way that you might not even realize, such a nice gift for a Bob Odenkirk. You gave him an opportunity to live up to your idea of who he was, and he did it. Like
Right,
he
totally.
hit
He
a
did.
home run.
And he did.
And that's such a gift if you play it right. Like, because I bet he doesn't get a lot of opportunity to.
Yes. I think everybody always feels it around him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But people don't just say like, because a lot of times in Hollywood they'll do it, but it always feels fake where people are like, love you, you're so good. And you're like, I know when I leave, you're all saying what's not great about me. Like we know this game that
Right.
a lot of the compliments are fake compliments. A lot of the warmth is not earned. And I'm like, but a lot of people for a guy like that, it's like genuinely
Yeah.
no competition. You've won.
Yeah.
You're just the way you fucking do things, man. Like you go back from like Bob Odenkirk from like his writing days when he's doing sketch. He wrote like the Matt Foley sketch.
Yeah.
He was SNL. He was like all these things.
Mhm.
And you're like, and you're still doing interesting stuff. And he also is really, I love how much he fails. And I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
He always has like 3 pilots. Like Derek
Totally.
and Simon was a failure.
Totally.
We missed.
Totally.
But he's out there doing a panel honoring it.
Right.
Where I'm like,
Well,
oh,
he
you're
also
a
had
volume shooter too.
Right,
Like,
but
you're
he
the
also
best.
had the idea, and he said yes to
Yes.
a thing that was unproven,
That's
a
exactly
web
right.
series, which was like he
As
was like,
opposed to being precious.
yeah, he was like, let's just do this.
This
Let's
could
just
work.
do this.
Yes. I'm thinking it could work. It didn't work, but I'm shooting. I'm going to do this job. What happened? That one wasn't as well received as this. Fine, let's go. And I'm like, that's the hustler attitude.
It's
Where you're like, great. If you're doing that, that's something to look forward to, as opposed to somebody who's like, I did something great. Then I went away for 8 years
Yeah.
and I was in like a cobbler's hut.
right. And I
Right.
needed to
And then I came back with this other genius project. I'm like, my brain doesn't work that way. I need to do like 50 projects.
honey.
Yeah. And like just the way the brain works.
Yeah.
And you're like, 3 of them might be really good, but you're going to see messy 47s.
Yes. My friend and I were just talking about this earlier today about how like I like to have so many irons in the fire
Yes.
that sometimes people come back to tell me no. And I'm like, I don't remember asking. I do not like
That's right.
thanks
That
for-
one's fun.
Thanks for letting me know, but
Yeah.
I don't remember.
That's right. That was just one of a lot. Yeah.
So I think that's so great. And I think that's so cool. And I'm really, really glad that you did that.
Yeah, it was cool.
I'm glad that you just
And
walked
then
up.
Eric Edelstein, my buddy, got really mad at me because we walked up a bunch of hills. And afterwards, he's like, hey, fuck nut.
Also, by the way, there's not, I was literally just having this conversation. There is nothing worse than walking in San Francisco. It is so fucking hard.
This was hard, yes.
It is hard.
Yes. But I'm as you're like drawing and kind of doing
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
see the way your brain works.
Yeah.
My happiest hang with somebody is to go for a walk.
Mm.
Because I like having the physical activity burning as opposed to being like, hey, you want to get coffee? And just going like,
I can't do that. No.
yes.
We
I'm
gotta
like,
walk.
let's just do this together and connect as we're like climbing a hill.
Right. Which is also why New York does work for me.
Yes, that's a great it's a great part.
It's
But
like,
we also have Griffith Park. We got different areas.
no, listen, I'm ready to come back. Jake,
I know.
I'm
Yeah.
in.
I don't have to sell you.
No.
I don't have to sell you.
Jake, thank you so much for doing
Real
this.
pleasure, guys.
It's
Oh
really,
my
really
fun.
fun. I'm so glad we were in person because if we were over Zoom, I would have ended it like
For sure.
preemptively.
My kids
Like
would have
after-
come home.
That ends it immediately.
You go
We
like this.
were
Yeah.
so excited
Yeah.
to have you.
Yeah, we really
couldn't- We couldn't have asked for a better first in-person, possibly only ever in-person guest. So a happy accident. Thank
Yes.
you.
Well, thank you guys. Really
Such
fun.
a happy accident.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best.
Oh no.